Chapter 1448. In the sky above Yang's city, Li Shun looked at Fong Ping, strangely. Fong Ping, on the other hand, was very calm. He casually dug out a coconut from the ash cat's claws, shook it a little, poked a hole in it, and drank a mouthful. He shook his head and tossed it to Li Shun. Li Shun took it in a daze, not understanding where this coconut had come from. He turned his head and thought about it. He was secretly speechless. This man and cat were a perfect match, plucking the feathers from the geese. Li Shun wanted to ask about the situation, but Fong Ping said calmly, "Don't speak. If you speak, if I feel like I'm not from this world, and leave you guys behind, then it'll be your responsibility." Li Shun sucked in a deep breath, a bitter smile on his face. With this accusation, there was really no way he could take the blame. If Fong Ping ran away, what would happen to the humans? Fong Ping was right. If he really felt that he did not belong to this world and left everything he had, would anyone chase after him? He really didn't. Celestial Emperor and the others' goal was to exterminate the human race and use the seeds to fill the hole. It was not like they had to kill Fong Ping. Without Fong Ping messing around, they would probably be more than happy to do so. At this moment, Li Shun had already made up his mind. He would pretend he hadn't heard anything today. Fong Ping was still the same Fong Ping. However, Li Shun still hesitated for a moment before sending a voice transmission. Be careful not to be fooled by him. This old man feels somewhat similar to you, and Zhang Tao. Fong Ping looked at him dangerously. What did he mean? Li Shun acted as though he did not see it and continued. Yes, that's the feeling. It's not very reliable. After all, Zhan Tiandi has been dead for so many years, and no one has come out to confront him. If you are his chess piece, and he is purposely making you lower your guard, he had worked with Zhang Tao for so many years, and he knew that Zhang Tao was only telling lies when he was telling the truth. You won't be able to tell the real from the fake. However, there were still some things that he had to be wary of. Fong Ping did not care. He did not use voice transmission either. He said casually, "He's stronger than me. He can say whatever he wants. It's up to me whether I believe him or not." The Yang spirit was much stronger than him, so he could say whatever he wanted. Yes is yes, no is no. Just be on guard. Fong Ping would never trust anyone easily. In the past few years, he had suspected everyone. However, what the Yang god said this time might not be false. Fong Ping also had a judgment in his heart. In terms of motive, Sun God's motive for creating this accident was not too obvious. On the other hand, Heavenly Emperor Zhan did have this motive. Fong Ping stopped thinking about this. He was thinking about something else. Since the Heavenly Battle Arch created the system, he must have a body, or rather, a source of energy. Where is it? Fong Ping felt that it might not be on him. Or perhaps it wasn't on the physical body. The system was Fong Ping's own definition. Previously, it was just a few simple lines of data. After that, it was slowly upgraded to this. This was similar to the terminal's self-upgrade. If the Heaven Battling the Arch had created it back then, it might have been very simple and crude. However, as time passed, it was upgraded and perfected. Regardless of all these, Fong Ping only cared about where the system was. If he could find it, would his power still be there? Actually, Fong Ping did not care too much about this energy. Even if the system had stored a large amount of energy, he might not be able to absorb much of it. Moreover, what he needed now was to expand the source world. It was mainly because of Lao Wang and the other two. This was the power left behind by the three emperors. What would happen if the three of them absorbed it? Would they become stronger? Even if it was a power of the same origin, it might be strengthened a lot. Fong Ping suddenly looked at the gray cat. The gray cat was holding a compressed dragon tail in its mouth, looking at Fong Ping curiously. "Fat cat, help me find the source of the energy." After saying that, Fong Ping condensed some vitality force again. Right now, he still had hundreds of billions of wealth points. He could convert a large amount of energy. The gray cat stared at him for a while, then stared at the vitality force for a while. It shook its head slightly. It could not find it. Fong Ping frowned, staring at it. "You can't find it? You fat cat, when you first saw me, you realized that the energy wasn't mine. Can't you realize it now?" The gray cat said innocently, "I might have seen this thing before, but I was beaten silly by that old man. I must have forgotten about it." Fong Ping felt tired. However, the gray cat had seen it before. Fong Ping fell into deep thought. The gray cat might have seen it before. When it was young, the heavenly battled arch had also gone to the cat palace. He did not know if it was to observe this trash can or for something else. Anyway, it had seen the gray cat. The heaven-destroying emperor and the heaven-Batian emperor had actually seen the gray cat before. That gray cat had seen the system's body. It was possible. No, Fong Ping suddenly thought of something and asked, "Did you see it in the cat palace or outside?" The green cat was confused. What? Fong Ping, on the other hand, had some clues. Actually, Fong Ping had not seen Heavenly Battle Arch much. However, he had gone to Heavenly Battle Palace to rescue Heavenly Hound. He had been imprisoned there for a period of time, and in the end, he had self-destructed and escaped. Did the gray cat see the real body there? Also, in the secret territory, the Azure Cat had actually left a projection at the Combat Heavenly Palace, leaving behind the second cat. This was actually very unusual. The Azure Cat had been to many places, but the 9 imperial clans had been to many more places than the Heaven-Battling Emperor's clan. Then why would he leave a projection at the Heavenly Thearcha's side? Among the 9 emperors, only the third cat was on Emperor Ling's side. Combat Heavenly Palace, Fong Ping mumbled to himself. No way. Could it be that the main body of the system had always been in the Combat Heavenly Palace? The Combat Heavenly Palace was with him, but Fong Ping had not used it for a long time. It seemed like an ordinary palace. When he was weak, he thought it was quite powerful. Now, Fong Ping had almost forgotten about it. Could it be here? If it's not in the Combat Heavenly Palace, then it's in Sun City or the Seed. Fong Ping knew in his heart. These were the 3 places. Heaven Battling Emperor was also a homebody type, at least from some of the known experiences under normal circumstances. This fellow was holed up in the Combat Heavenly Palace. Sun City was Sun God's territory. Heaven Battling Emperor might not choose this place. As for the Seed had a consciousness. Heaven Battling Emperor might not dare to place it there. If he placed it in the Combat Heavenly Palace, powerhouses would not be attracted to Combat Heavenly Palace. The strongest possessor was the Demon Emperor. He would definitely not discover these. Heart, Combat Heavenly Palace. Fong Ping suddenly thought of the time when he found Heaven Battling Emperor's heart in the Combat Heavenly Palace. The heart was condensed from Heaven Battling Emperor's strength. That heart was definitely not Heaven Battling Emperor's. At most, it was condensed from some strength. Then, why was a heart born? Heaven Battling Emperor's strength leaked out, so a heart was born. Fong Ping seemed to have grasped the clue. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared on the spot. The gray cat disappeared in an instant too. Li Jun looked left and right, feeling a little helpless. These fellows were now powerful. They were elusive. He was so embarrassed. Holding the small white seed in his hand, Li Jun gritted his teeth. This thing, I'll keep it for myself. He would eat it when he got back. He had also achieved Heavenly King Realm now, but He was still too weak. After eating this seed, he did not know if he could achieve 7 or 8 breakthroughs. Star Town. Jiang Hao's vision blurred. Fang Ping appeared instantly. Where did the demon emperor find the heart back then? Jiang Hao saw that it was Fang Ping, but he did not care anymore. He thought for a while and said, "Myriad Worlds Palace? It should be. When he went to the mystic realm back then, I think he found it there." His memory is a little fuzzy. Myriad Worlds Palace is not the mystic realm where Heaven Battling Emperor was. Jiang Hao did not quite understand what he meant. He said hesitantly, "I'm really not too sure. It's a little fuzzy." Fang Ping made a judgment in his heart. It might not be Myriad Worlds Palace. Instead, it was found at Heaven Battling Emperor's level. Perhaps Heaven Battling Emperor had always been by his side. That projection knew more things than he imagined. Xu Xiang should know. Fang Ping did not care about this. The system's main body might be hidden in Combat Heavenly Palace. Ignoring Jiang Hao's astonishment, Fang Ping suddenly took out Combat Heavenly Palace. Combat Heavenly Palace appeared instantly. Fang Ping went inside. Jiang Hao thought for a while and followed him into Combat Heavenly Palace. Combat Heavenly Palace was as usual. It was not big and simple. There was a main hall, backyard, study, bedroom, and training room. It was that simple. Fang Ping quickly appeared in the backyard. There were 2 bedrooms in the backyard. One was built by the Demon Emperor himself later on. The other was originally Heaven Battling Emperor's. Fang Ping thought of the first time he came here. He saw a figure on top of Heaven Battling Emperor's bedroom, looking up at the sky. It seemed a little lonely. Fang Ping's eyes moved slightly. He appeared above Combat Heavenly Palace's bedroom instantly. He knew that there was no Heaven Battling Emperor's projection here. If there was, it would definitely attract the attention of powerhouses. The remnant of Heaven Battling Emperor's projection meant that he often stood on the roof and looked at something. What was he looking at? As a martial artist, Fang Ping's memory was still very deep. The place where he appeared was exactly the same as the projection's position that day. At this moment, he imitated the posture of the remnant of the projection, looking up at the sky. In Combat Heavenly Palace, he did not find any remaining traces of power. Where did Heaven Battling Emperor hide the thing? At this moment, Fang Ping raised his head and looked at the sky. The sky above Combat Heavenly Palace was the same as the outside world. There was nothing unusual. Fang Ping looked for a while. His eyes moved again. This angle, at this moment, the cat also flew over. Imitating Fang Ping, it raised its fat head and looked at the sky. It asked curiously, "Why are you looking at the immortal source?" "Yes, the immortal source." Fang Ping squinted his eyes. It was very strange. From this angle, no matter how he looked, what was reflected in his eyes was the immortal source. Back then, Fang Ping did not care about this matter. Now that he looked again, Fang Ping raised his eyebrows. Not in Combat Heavenly Palace, but in the immortal source, Heaven Battling Emperor actually hid the thing under the nose of the celestial emperors, and the others, everyone valued the immortal source very much. However, they would not touch it easily. Whoever touched the immortal source would be going against the celestial emperors and the 9 emperors. Immortal source. If the immortal source is destroyed, this thing will be gone, Fang Ping murmured. If the immortal source was destroyed, then there would be no system. Without the system, there would be no follow-up. What was Heaven Battling Emperor thinking back then? Did he think that if the immortal source plan was not continued, there would be no need for him to take revenge? If the immortal source plan was not continued, did it mean that the celestial emperors and the others had given up on the plan to devour the 3 realms? Did he still have some good intentions? Fong Ping had some thoughts in his mind. Without thinking further, he suddenly sat down cross-legged. A huge star stone appeared in his hand. He wanted to absorb the star stone and become more powerful. Then he would go to ninth heaven to take a look. The main body of the system might be there, but the spirit emperor was there too. When he became stronger, he would go and take a look. If it was there, he would take it back. Perhaps heaven battling emperor did not only leave behind these things, or perhaps there were more things left behind. Otherwise, could he really fight against the celestial emperors and the others with just a system? If heaven battling emperor had left this thing behind, he might have made more arrangements. Fong Ping sneered and stopped thinking about it. A dead person, a powerhouse who was regarded as naive by all the powerhouses, actually left behind a backup plan like the system. Who in the three realms would have thought of this? Just as Fong Ping began to absorb the star stone, origin, somewhere in the void, a group of people were drinking wine, eating meat, chatting, and chatting. The heavenly king, subduing, was holding a banquet. At this time, the heavenly king, subduing, was carefree, his face contorted. He laughed out loud and said, "I finally don't have to think about those *T things anymore. I'll leave it to those bastards to think about it. Damn, I've contributed, but I'm still suspected every day. How annoying. Now that I'm free, everyone, come often when you're free. Eat and drink when you want. Enjoy every day." Many powerhouses came in the surroundings today. God Creation Envoy, Book Fragrance, Heavenly Dog, Qin Feng Qing. Almost all the new emperors had arrived, including a few veteran emperors. The weak did not dare to come, but the powerful emperors, Earthly Emperor, and Dong Huang were all here. Dong Huang held his wine cup and took a sip. He was reminiscing a little and chuckled. There's news from the human world. Fong Ping went to Sun City and might have met the sun god. Shun, aren't you curious about what your master and Fong Ping talked about? Curious? The heavenly king, subduing, said indifferently, "What can they talk about? The possibility of that old fellow participating is not high. You guys can do whatever you want. It's best if the Source Land's calamity is resolved. He can continue to be carefree. No, he can continue to be carefree even if he loses the energy he absorbed back then. Why would he care about you guys? That's true. In the three realms, he's the most carefree." Dong Huang laughed and continued to drink. He said slowly, "Then tell me, what is Fong Ping doing now? Improve his strength and find an opportunity to kill you guys. It's that simple." Heavenly King Jin chuckled. "You guys have your own plans. Some guys can't wait for him to cause trouble. In the past few years, he's been fine. Maybe there's someone protecting him in secret. Some people don't necessarily want the Celestial Emperor to destroy the human race and swallow the seed." Everyone chuckled. The human emperor also smiled, faintly. The Celestial Emperor is no longer the Celestial Emperor of the past. If he didn't want to kill the 9 emperors, he should have destroyed the human race a few years ago to perfect the source and the origin. But he's too ambitious. He wants to destroy us too. Naturally, everyone has to resist. Heavenly King Jin said disapprovingly, "How normal! The power of the source should belong to him. You guys, including us, have all stolen his power. He didn't care in the past. Now that he realized that his strength is not enough, and you guys still want to cause trouble, if he doesn't kill you guys, who will he kill?" When the Celestial Emperor discovered the source, he preached with the intention of sharing. But gradually, when the 9 emperors became stronger, these also had their own thoughts. In addition, there were flaws in the Source Land. The Celestial Emperor alone suppressed the biggest crack. The others could still go out, but he couldn't. How could he be willing? 8,000 years ago, he was schemed against. Master and disciple turned against each other. not to mention now. Now, the Celestial Emperor's attitude was also very obvious. Even if he didn't show it, the emperors could feel it. Dong Huang chuckled and said, "The Celestial Emperor wants to destroy the emperors. This has been expected a few years ago. I'm actually a little curious. How does he plan to do it? It's been so many years. Actually, there have been a few opportunities. Why hasn't he made a move? Must he wait for the immortal source to mature?" Dong Huang was puzzled. When the immortal source matures, he can indeed swallow the immortal source to solve most of the problems and escape. But we also have a chance to escape at that time. Isn't he worried? Unless Dong Huang looked around and smiled. Unless the Celestial Emperor has made arrangements and is sure that we can't escape. Heavenly King, subduing, drank and said casually, "It's so simple. Do, Qiong, Hao, Hong, Ji, some of them are his people. Or they have reached an agreement with my master. It's that simple." Hearing this, Dong Huang laughed. "What you said makes sense. Either there were people of the Celestial Emperor among the powerhouses, or the Sun God had agreed to cooperate with the Celestial Emperor. The Sun God also hoped that the trouble in the Source Land could be solved. This way, he didn't have to return the power of the Source Land, even if Heavenly King, subduing, mentioned him. Dong Huang didn't think there was anything wrong. They chatted and talked nonsense, as if there was nothing they didn't talk about. The previous hatred and schemes seemed to have been put down. Their attitudes after becoming emperor and before becoming emperor seemed to be completely different. They were all emperors, and they were all trapped in the Source Land. Everyone seemed to have a little more sense of identity. At this time, Heavenly King subduing smiled and said, "Everyone, Hao said before that it's not that the Source Land can't be solved. It's not that there's no way to solve it peacefully. For example, guarding it for 10,000 years or 1,000 years. Actually, I think this method isn't bad." As soon as he finished speaking, Earth's sovereign said indifferently, "It's a good idea, but it's just a fantasy. Unless the development of the Source Land is restricted and the current number of origin warriors is maintained, we can't continue to let people become emperors. Apart from that, every time the origin warriors die, we need to replenish the number. It can't be more or less. In addition, we can't become stronger. If we become stronger, the Source Land will not be able to bear the burden." Earth's sovereign said with a smile, "Who can be so selfless and maintain it forever? If we are not careful, it will be big trouble. Also, the so-called shift system is not that reliable. How many people go out? How many people watch over it? Those who go out, can they rest assured that others will guard their Source Land? Will the people inside be like celestial, secretly searching for the location of your Tao fruit and find a chance to kill you? Don't you know how Huang died? Who can rest assured? Outside, they are also on tenterhooks. Inside, they are not willing to be lonely." The Earth's sovereign shook his head. "The idea is not bad, but in reality, it is impossible to do. If the trouble of the origin is not resolved, no one will be at ease to entrust their lives to others." When the Earth's sovereign said this, everyone fell silent. At this time, the God creation envoy interrupted, "The seed has consciousness. Other than exterminating the human race, is there no way to eliminate the seed's consciousness? For example, forcefully capturing the seed, exterminating its consciousness, and letting it fill the pit?" As soon as he said this, the human emperor said faintly, "Forcefully capture? Let's put it this way. Although the seed is affected by some things and cannot take the initiative to attack us, but if we really force the seed will self-destruct, and the 3 realms will be completely annihilated." The seed could not be killed. Unless he had the ability to continue to maintain the existence of the 3 realms after the seed was extinguished. This would not do, and that would not do. The heavenly hound said impatiently, "So there's nothing to talk about? Sooner or later, we will still have to fight." The Earth's sovereign smiled faintly and said, "There's no need to talk about it. If we can talk about it, we would have already agreed on it a few years ago. Why wait until now?" Heavenly King Jin Wang drank the wine in his cup and laughed. "Then what do you think we should do? Exterminate the human race?" To be honest, only you, Do, and Hao's attitude is unclear. What do you think? The Earth Sovereign smiled. "What else can I have in mind? The three realms are not ruled by us. In the end, it is up to them." Dong Huang glanced at him. "That was not what you said back then." The Earth Sovereign said calmly, "That was the past. I didn't think much back then. Things are different now. As I said, I am old now. Old?" The people present couldn't help but laugh. He was quite old, but Hao and Zhen were actually slightly older than him. How was he old? The Earth Sovereign didn't care. He looked at Heavenly King Zhen Wang and asked curiously, "Zhen, you switched from beginner martial arts to origin martial arts. Now, you have integrated two martial arts. After you become a sovereign, your abilities have increased, but you may not be stronger than the beginner martial arts you have been practicing. I am confused. What is the difference between integrating two martial arts?" They also switched from beginner martial arts to origin martial arts, but they all switched completely. Heavenly King Zhen Wang was different. He cultivated two martial arts and then integrated them into one, the most powerful in history. Heaven Sovereign completely switched to origin martial arts. Yang's spirit had always been at beginner martial arts. Heaven Reverse Emperor started with beginner martial arts and then origin martial arts. No one cultivated two martial arts and integrated them into one before becoming a sovereign. Earthly Sovereign was confused. What was different about Heavenly King Zhen Wang? If Heavenly King Zhen Wang was more powerful and had a combat strength over 100 million, then was it worthwhile for him to make all these years? If he had focused on beginner martial arts, should he have reached the 9th rank by now? Or should he have a combat strength over 100 million? Heavenly King Zhen Wang was known as the second most powerful man after Zhang Tian. He had spent so much time and energy to integrate two martial arts, but he had not achieved much. Of course, for the Beast King and the others, it was already incredible that Heavenly King Zhen Wang could surpass them as soon as he became a sovereign. But for the powerful warriors present, it was not enough. Heavenly King Zhen Wang smiled. "What is the difference?" "There is no difference. My physical body is stronger, closer to the beginner martial arts. But other than that, there is no difference." The Earth Sovereign smiled and asked no more. This was a personal secret. It was normal for Heavenly King Zhen Wang not to share. It was just that he had some doubts. So he mentioned it. The subduing Heavenly King did not continue this topic. He ate and drank and suddenly said, "The intelligence of the seed is built on the current human race. If most of the current human race dies, will its intelligence dissipate? And those children whose minds are not yet complete can actually not die." The human emperor frowned slightly and interrupted, "You want to find a way out for the human race? Zhen, you are thinking too simply. Even if the seed's intelligence is gone now, when the human race grows up again, it will continue to give birth to intelligence. Therefore, the Heavenly Emperor and the others said that killing 30% of the human race would be enough, but I think they want to exterminate the entire human race." After the human emperor finished speaking, he smiled and said, "The Heavenly Emperor and the others mean to create a new species similar to the Earth realm. It is mainly composed of energy and is no longer a life form of blood and chi. This way, they will not be controlled by the seed, and the three realms will continue to exist. Prosperity without the human race is still the same. Heavenly King Zhen Wang was silent. The God creation envoy shook his head slightly and sighed. Actually, there is still a way to transform the human race into the humans of the Earth realm. Back then, the transformation of the Earth realm was also completed in this way. The power required is too much. The Earth Emperor said slowly, "We need to sacrifice more than half of the human race, and after the transformation, it may not be the same as the Earth realm. There may be some drawbacks, such as being unable to give birth to descendants. So the difficulty is also very high, so high that we may not have the chance to complete it. The seed is not without consciousness. If you continue to transform it, it will not agree." The atmosphere became more and more depressing. Heavenly King Zhen Wang drank another mouthful of wine, raised his head and smiled. "I understand there is still no way to break out of this situation. It seems that there is no room for negotiation. Now, I don't think about this anymore. I only think, when will Fong Ping come back to the source? And I don't know who will die next. This 3 realms. Sometimes it is really boring." After saying this, Heavenly King Zhen Wang laughed loudly and disappeared in an instant. The various emperors also looked at each other for a while. Soon, they all laughed and disappeared on the spot. There was no way to talk. Next, a great battle was bound to break out. Heavenly King Zhen Wang had lost all hope today, and the powerhouses present would probably have their own choices next. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1449. 9th Heaven. A huge, immortal source illuminated the 3 realms. The immortal source was still covered in red blood vessels. Below the immortal source, a beautiful figure sat cross-legged, quiet, lonely like a statue. Guard the immortal source. In the past, this was the task of the other emperors. She would come to cause trouble and mock them from time to time. But today, she was the one guarding this place. Even if she did not want to, she still came. The Celestial Emperor's order. What was the immortal source? It was the lifeline of the 3 realms. It controlled the lifeline of all the powerhouses of the 3 realms. How many people could get rid of the immortal source? Other than those emperors, only a few people in the 3 realms could get rid of the immortal source. Guarding the immortal source was to prevent the martial artists of the 3 realms from destroying it and escaping. This was not guarding, but cutting off the hope of the martial artists of the 3 realms. I finally lived to the point where I don't want to live anymore. An unspoken murmur sounded in his heart. Spirit Emperor did not open his eyes. Guarding the immortal source meant that he was destined to be the enemy of the 3 realms. It was not that nothing happened these days. For example, in 8th Heaven, there were frequent sounds of movement and curses. At this moment, in 8th Heaven, another voice sounded. Someone scolded loudly. "Little girl, you are too cold-blooded. My brother Shur has been your bootlicker for tens of thousands of years. You are not even willing to cut off his path above the immortal source. Are you still human? No, you are not human since a long time ago. To think that my brother Shur advised Fong Ping not to fight his way up to 9th Heaven and snatch you to be his wife. You are so black-hearted. You have an old lover, and you have forgotten about brother Shur? Get lost." The last one was scolded by Sherpa. Very soon, Sherpo's voice was heard. "Fatty Ling, what did that old fellow Celestial Emperor give you? I am not more handsome than him, not younger than him, not stronger than him. If he wants you to guard, then guard. Why do you have to listen to him? Fatty Ling, guarding the immortal source is not a good thing. Fong Ping will come sooner or later. Definitely. The immortal source controls billions of people. How can he give it up? Right now, this place is the most dangerous. If Fong Ping kills his way here, and no one from the source box comes to help, you're dead meat." Sherpa said loudly. The Celestial Emperor wants to protect the celestial origin. I'm afraid the others can't wait for Fong Ping to kill him and kill you. Then they'll wait for the Celestial Emperor to make a move and test the Celestial Emperor's strength. I understand that, so how can you not? Even though Fong Ping promised Old Cat and Little Purple that he would spare you twice, this kid is cruel and merciless. His heart is black and hard. Last time, he cheated and lost one chance. If he does it again, you'll definitely die next time. Fatty Spirit, why don't you rely on Fong Ping? Fong Ping is not isolated and helpless in the origin. There's still a young god in the human world. Maybe he'll be roped in by Fong Ping. If this goes on, no one can save you. Sherpa roared loudly, his voice coming from the eighth heaven. He and Luan were now partners. Tiango had proven his Tao. Tian Chun had been imprisoned. Those who had proven their Tao in the three realms had proven their Tao. Those who had accepted their fates accepted their fates. He and Luan didn't want to accept their fates. They still wanted to survive. The way to break through the immortal source was their current goal. And the Spirit Emperor who guarded the immortal source happened to be Sherpo's old acquaintance. At this moment, the two of them had been clamoring in the eighth heaven for a few days, brainwashing nonstop. One scolded, and the other persuaded. Their cooperation was quite tacit. The Spirit Emperor turned a deaf ear, but frowned slightly. Obviously, he was still a little affected, but he was unwilling to reply. At this moment, Sherpa suddenly said sadly, "All right, I won't talk about this anymore. I'll ask one more thing. Those few hands that tried to kill me back then, were you the first one?" The Spirit Emperor suddenly opened his eyes and said coldly, "So what if it was me?" "It's really you?" Sherpa couldn't believe it, his tone full of sorrow. "It's really you?" That day, when Dong Huang told me, I still couldn't believe it. You want to kill me?" "Silence," Sherpa said sadly. "You want to kill me. You really want to kill me. We've known each other for a long time. After you proved your Tao, I knew that I wasn't good enough for you, so I pretended to be crazy and ruin my reputation. I just wanted to let others know that it was me who wanted to ruin your purity, and that it wasn't you who abandoned me after you proved your Tao. I thought that there would at least be some feelings left. Who knew? Who knew that the first one who wanted to kill me would be you? How did you become so heartless, so cold-blooded? Does becoming an emperor mean destroying humanity, destroying lust? If that's the case, then it's fine if I don't become an emperor." Hearing this, Luan said in disbelief, "Brother Shi, you two knew each other before you proved your Tao? You had an affair back then. This woman dumped you after she found a higher position? She still wants to kill you? Damn, isn't that Pan Jinlian who killed Wu Dalong? This woman is actually so despicable." Boom! A jade-like hand broke through the barrier and instantly attacked Luan. Even if the Spirit Emperor didn't want to care, he couldn't help but attack. He even scolded, "Sherpa, you're asking for death. You dare to ruin my reputation." What old lover? They didn't know each other before they proved their Tao, but it wasn't as ambiguous as Sherpa said. They were just strangers who met by chance. Sherpa, this be asterisk starred, actually deliberately caused chaos. He deserved to die. The Spirit Emperor's eyes were filled with anger. Despicable, despicable. Sherpa, this lecher, was getting more and more despicable. The jade-like palm hit eighth heaven, causing it to shake. Sherpa and Luan's faces had already turned pale. They fled frantically toward the catacombs. Li Zhu was there, and Fong Ping was near the catacombs. The Spirit Emperor didn't dare to act recklessly. They'd run first. As for Sherpa, he said hurriedly, "Fatty Spirit, it's a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. We knew each other from the start. You did abandon me after you got me. Did you forget? We used to team up to explore the origin, but after you proved your Tao, we stopped exploring. Didn't you abandon your teammates?" It's a misunderstanding. It's all because of this B asterisk starred Luan. I don't know him. Don't be angry. Luan was scolding crazily. This B asterisk starred. If you didn't say it so ambiguously just now, why would I think of this? The two of them threw the blame to each other. The Spirit Emperor's pretty eyes were filled with killing intent, her palm striking through multiple heavens. There was a loud boom. Sherpa and Luan were sent flying, blood spurting out. The Spirit Emperor snorted, her palm dissipating, leaving Sherpa and Luan looking at each other, their faces full of depression. The Spirit Emperor didn't want to kill them. They were also the few top powerhouses in the three realms. Plus, they were on good terms with the humans. If she really killed them, Fang Ping might really come for her immediately, although the Spirit Emperor wasn't afraid of him. Guarding the immortal origin was the top priority. At this moment, she also didn't want to have a conflict with Fang Ping. Plus, Sherpa was considered an old acquaintance. This guy had always been so despicable. The Spirit Emperor was more or less used to this despicable guy. As for Luan, she was just playing the role of Tengu back then. In the turbulent void, Luan and Sherpa looked depressed. Luan couldn't help but scold in a low voice. Useless, you're so stubborn. Big Rock, you can't even handle your old lover. But what's with him controlling our Tao? If he breaks the Tao's control, I'll break 9 today and prove my Tao tomorrow, then I'll have some confidence. Do I really have to learn from that stupid dog? If it wasn't for the fact that Dong Wang didn't want to kill him, he would be dead by proving his Tao. Among the powerhouses who proved their Tao that day, only that fool Tengu didn't get rid of the Tao's control. If Dong Huang, who was guarding the immortal origin that day, was willing, he could break the Tao at any time and seriously injure Tengu. The powerhouses of the three realms saw this and remembered it in their hearts. Even if someone could break through now, they wouldn't dare to, afraid of becoming the Emperor's food. The two of them had been lingering here recently. They wanted to release the Tao through Sherpa and the Spirit Emperor's old friendship. The fake Tao became the real Tao and was no longer controlled by the immortal origin. The dream was beautiful, but the reality was cruel. The Spirit Emperor didn't care about them at all. If he hadn't gone overboard today, he wouldn't have bothered with them. Sherpa was also depressed and said helplessly, "If it doesn't work, I'll find Fang Ping and the others to think of a way." Anyway, Fang Ping won't give up the immortal origin. Everyone is waiting for him to clash with Fatty Ling. When the time comes, they can fish in troubled waters. Unfortunately, this isn't the first time. Now that the Celestial Emperor and the Divine Emperor are also watching, there might not be a chance. Last time, the emperors let down their guard. They didn't expect the God Creation Envoy to secretly change the pillars and let a few of them escape. Would they still let down their guard now? Everyone had always attached great importance to the immortal origin. Even if no one in the three realms could break through the 9 realms, there were still a few emperors guarding it all year round. After that, even if they couldn't spare any manpower, there would still be an emperor avatar guarding it. Now, it was also the Spirit Emperor guarding it. The powerhouses of the three realms probably wouldn't have the chance to repeat the methods of the God Creation Envoy and the others. It was impossible to lure the Spirit Emperor away. While the two of them were talking, Sherpa suddenly widened his eyes. He didn't sense anything and turned his head to look. In the next moment, he also opened his mouth wide and turned to look at Sherpa. It was as if he was saying, "Your mouth has been opened." Someone was coming. Fang Ping. No aura could be seen from Fang Ping's body. He just stood there in the chaotic void with his hands behind his back and looked up at the sky, as if he was looking at the immortal origin. They didn't know if Fang Ping had always been here, or if he had just arrived. The two of them didn't notice him before. They didn't notice anything unusual. Sherpa only felt that this guy suddenly appeared in front of him. Fang. Fong Ping, Sherpa swallowed his saliva. You want to go to the ninth heaven? Fong Ping seemed to have just noticed them. He tilted his head and smiled faintly. Afraid of killing your old lover? Sherpa laughed dryly and quickly said, If you make a move, the Heavenly Emperor will definitely not sit by and watch. The Divine Emperor and the others can't wait for the Heavenly Emperor to fight you. If the Heavenly Emperor kills you, you can draw out some of the Heavenly Emperor's strength. In fact, the gains do not make up for the losses. Obviously, he was sure that Fong Ping could deal with Emperor Ling. Immortal origin, Fong Ping murmured, then smiled and said, Brother Shi, do you think I will give up on the immortal source? No, Sherpa didn't even think about it. It was impossible for him to give up. This was something that concerned the survival of human martial artists. How could Fong Ping give it up? Then why are you persuading me? Fong Ping was still smiling. Spirit Emperor understands. Celestial Emperor understands. Everyone understands. Whoever is in charge of the immortal source will have to fight with me sooner or later. Whether it is the Ash Cat or Lindsay, they cannot change anything. A Spirit Emperor was not enough to exchange for the lifeline of a human martial artist. Even if I break my oath and can't hold back, I won't hold back. Although he had promised Lindsay and the cat, he would not be so inflexible. When powerhouses fought, their lives were on the line. Whoever held back might die. Spirit Emperor was not considered weak. The last time they fought, her outburst was close to 85 million calories. Such a powerhouse might not even go all out. How could Fong Ping dare to really relax? Unless the other party really had no strength to fight back and was still alive, then Fong Ping could take advantage of the situation to fulfill his promise. Otherwise, he would not take it too seriously. As he said that, Fong Ping looked at the two of them and smiled. How's the progress these few days? Luan said gloomily, Didn't you see everything? He did not believe that Fong Ping did not see it. The two of them were beaten down. They were already in such a miserable state, and he still asked about the progress. Fong Ping smiled. A woman like Spirit Emperor is stubborn. It's useless to just talk. You have to beat her. This kind of woman is used to being arrogant. She looks at everyone high and mighty. Why would she care about you? Beat her up once. If that doesn't work, then beat her up twice. If that doesn't work, then hack her to death. Even if she died, she would feel that her skills were inferior and that her death was not unjust. *CK. Do you think she would care about you? The two of them were embarrassed. That was really the case. Sherpa said helplessly, How could we be her match? Spirit Emperor was very strong. The two of them were not that strong. Even though they had improved a little with the help of the source turbulence, the two of them had only broken through 2 gates and were starting to approach 3 gates. Their vitality was only slightly more than 30 million calories, far from Spirit Emperor's. At this point, Sherpa thought of what happened before and asked hurriedly, You're going to ninth heaven now? Yes. This was too fast. Sherpa muttered in his heart. So fast. It had only been 3 days since the big battle. You're doing it again. Could it be that Fong Ping had improved again? It had only been 3 days. Fong Ping had indeed improved. After absorbing so many star stones, how could he not improve? He was different from others. Others either improved their physique or their origin Tao. Fong Ping, on the other hand, needed to expand the source world. It was easy for others to reach a limit, but Fong Ping did not. The source world had expanded. Now, it was not even 10,000 meters in diameter. How far was it? Therefore, he still had room to improve. As for the others, many of them had reached the end. The current Fong Ping had improved his strength again, and it was not a small one. Vitality, 31 million calories. Mentality, 310,000 hertz. Force, 3,100 origin, 62 million calories vitality, jade bones, 99%, additional vitality qualitative change, source world, 99 meters combat techniques, chaos vanquishing saber techniques, plus 20%, strength control, 100%, plus 20%, maximum vitality, 86. 8 million Kalva star stones had not been completely absorbed. Although Fang Ping did not have a big bottleneck, the source world reaching 10,000 meters was similar to the Great Tao 10,000 meters. There were still some obstacles. Fang Ping did not directly improve to a diameter of more than 10,000 meters. He was stuck at 9,999 meters for a while. Fang Ping did not force it. It was fine as long as his strength improved. The current him, his explosive force, had already exceeded 85 million. This was not counting his saber. If he counted it, it would definitely be 90 million calories. If Spirit Emperor only had the strength of the last time, he would definitely not be as good as Fang Ping. Sometimes, it was not just a matter of the difference in data. Fang Ping could accommodate 3,100 force now. His physique was 62 million calories. Spirit Emperor's physique was definitely not as strong as his. These emperors, although their origin no longer increased and had already returned to one, in reality, their physiques looked strong, but they were very superficial. The power of the origin was still the power of the origin. It was just that there was no obvious sense of increase. Their amplification was now at least twice as strong as before. In other words, the Spirit Emperor's physique foundation was at most less than 50 million calories, returning to one. These people's return to one was not successful, or rather, other than people like the Celestial Emperor and Yang God, the other origin emperors were not considered to have returned to one. There were too many loopholes. The source world and Great Tao were the biggest loopholes. If they were not filled, how could they return to one? Want to go up and take a look? Fang Ping laughed. Both of them looked at each other. Luan grinned and said, "Of course, if we can take the opportunity to break the control of Great Tao, that's good too." They were not timid. If they were timid, they would not dare to make a ruckus in eighth heaven. Fang Ping walked in the air. All the space cracks retreated as if they had encountered a strong enemy. None of them cut him. Sherpa and Luan looked at each other, shocked. This guy was getting stronger and stronger. His improvement was frightening. What are the Monster Emperor and the others doing recently? Fang Ping asked suddenly. Nowadays, there were not many Breaking Eight who had not achieved Tao in the three realms. Other than Chu Wu, there were only the Monster Emperor, Handprint, Seal, these people. Of course, it was still not a small number. However, after the previous battle, these people were a little shocked. Li Zhu and Hong Kuan had achieved Tao. Heavenly Hound, God Creation Envoy, and the others had succeeded. The people behind them were getting more and more difficult and dangerous. Luan said carelessly, "What else can they do? Wait for death." These guys don't dare to provoke Spirit Emperor, and they don't dare to achieve Tao now. Their cultivation is almost at the end. What else can they do if they don't wait for death? Fang Ping laughed. Wait for death? No way. None of the Breaking Eight in the three realms would be willing to wait for death. These people probably had their own plans. Unfortunately, their strength was a little weak, and their luck was not good. Without the opportunities of Hong Kuan, Li Zhu, and the others, they might still be a long way from achieving Tao. Of course, there was still hope of breaking through 3 gates and breaking through 9. But how could they break through the broken Tao after 3 gates? How could they break through the control of the immortal source? This was probably what they were having a headache about now. God Creation Envoy Broken Divine Weapon Bone, Grand Kuan Broken Energy Seed. Heavenly Hound had devoured tens of millions of catacombs creatures. Heavenly Hound's method was not suitable for others. They did not have Heavenly Hound's good teeth. Heavenly Hound cultivated the devouring method. This was not something that everyone could use. Moreover, now that the catacombs respected Li Zhu as the emperor, Li Zhu would not sit back and watch. Thinking about this, Fong Ping walked in the air and broke through the 9 heavens. In the 9 heavens, Spirit Emperor stood up, a long sword appearing in his hand. It was no longer indifferent like before, but solemn, guarding the 9 heavens, guarding the immortal source. This was trouble. Everyone knew it was trouble. Otherwise, there would be no need to guard. However, Fong Ping was still too fast. See area. Li Zhu appeared again, also looking up at the sky. At this moment, the sun seemed to reflect 2 figures. Li Zhu also laughed and shook his head. When he met Fong Ping, Spirit Emperor would probably cry. Even if ordinary emperors wanted to find trouble, they would not go every few days. Fong Ping, on the other hand, had only been 3 days, and he had gone again. He did not know if there would be another war today. Li Zhu laughed. All right, let Fong Ping continue to attract the firepower. The more chaotic it was, the less people would care about others. Li Zhu no longer appeared, vanishing instantly. The source, it trembled slightly. In the next moment, someone said with sympathy and ridicule, "Looks like Spirit is going to be beaten again. I wonder if he will be beaten to death." There were not many people who could say that. This was exactly what suppressing Heavenly Kings said. This guy at this moment casually soared into the sky, a huge phantom projected on the source, laughing and saying, "Fellow cultivators, is there any artifact to watch the show? It's not fun to watch the show from afar. If not, someone go to the human world and snatch that fat cat's divine peeking mirror." Someone laughed softly. In the next moment, a mirror soared into the sky, and the earthly emperor smiled faintly and said, "I don't need the divine peeking mirror. My Feng Yin treasure mirror can also see the 3 realms." There was a loud boom. An image appeared above the source. It was the scene near the 9th heaven immortal source. The suppressing Heavenly King glanced and said with a smile, "Hong, you have done a lot of bad things these years. This Feng Yun treasure mirror connects the 3 realms spirit vein and the immortal source. Are you really going to be a historian?" Taoist Feng Yun collected information about the powerhouses of the 3 realms. The living left their names, and the dead hid their names. In the past, he helped people collect corpses, and there were countless coffins behind him. He did not know what this guy was thinking. The earthly emperor said with a smile, "It's not bad to be a recorder of the 3 realms civilization." The 3 realms civilization disappeared, and the 3 realms were rebuilt. If we can unearth the Feng Yun treasure mirror, we can also restore the 3 realms history. There were too many experts recorded in this mirror. The 9 sovereigns and 4 emperors, the celestial emperor's Yang God, the new emperor who had proven his Tao, Fong Ping, who stirred up trouble, King Wu who guarded the human race, Chu Wu who fought against the heavens and earth. Here, their lives were recorded. Here, their images were left behind. The earthly sovereign smiled and said, "Say, if the 3 realms were to be destroyed and the heavens and earth were to be reopened and the book of wind and cloud was discovered by someone many years later, would our names be recorded in history, or would our names be infamous?" Ha! There was a sneer, an indescribable mockery. What was the mockery? No one knew. Maybe everyone knew. The first half of their lives were glorious, and the second half of their lives were dirty. This was the powerhouse of today. No one spoke anymore. On the mirror, a few figures appeared. Fong Ping seemed to have discovered something. He turned his head and glanced. The spirit emperor was also looking at the audience with a cold face, as if he had also discovered them. The earthly emperor did not care. If these 2 could not even discover his surveillance, then they were underestimating them too much. In the mirror, The two did not break through the void and destroy the surveillance. They could do it, but they did not. In the picture, Fong Ping's voice could be heard. He said playfully, "If you think it's boring, I'll watch the show for you every day. If the Spirit Emperor doesn't find it troublesome, I'll come to play with you every day. After I kill the Spirit Emperor, I'll play with another one. I can play with you until all of you are dead." How arrogant! However, no one spoke. Some laughed, and some did not care. They only wanted to know, why did this guy Fong Ping go up to ninth heaven this time? Did he not know that even if he defeated the Spirit Emperor, the Celestial Emperor would not let him succeed? Even if the Celestial Emperor did not do anything, the Emperor would stop him. Ninth heaven! Fong Ping laughed, looked at the Spirit Emperor, and said lightly, "Go play somewhere else. I'm looking at the immortal source. I've never seen it before, so I'm very curious about it. Don't provoke me, or I'll beat you to death. Don't blame me for being merciless." The Spirit Emperor glared at him. Sherpa and Luan looked at each other, and then Luan could not help but curse in a low voice. If we said that, we would have been beaten to death. If Fong Ping said that, we would have just glared at him. Boom! A palm slapped. The Spirit Emperor did not want to have a conflict with Fong Ping now, but he could not stand these two bastards hitting him when he was down. "Shut up, if you don't have the strength." Fong Ping's chi and blood shook, shattering the giant palm. Ignoring the Spirit Emperor's pale face, he looked at the giant immortal source and murmured, "This is the first time I've seen an immortal source. This shape is so ugly." Back then, when he first entered the catacombs, he felt that this thing was too ugly, not standard, not round enough, and had always felt uncomfortable. Now that he looked at it again, it was indeed not round. Did the God creation envoy think of a woman when he was forging it? Why is there a bulge? Origin. The God creation envoy's face was pitch black. Then he could not help but look at the immortal source in the mirror. After a long while, the more he looked, the stranger it became. He complained, "Who, the F***CK did it? It seems to be protruding. It protruded a little." If he did not look closely, he would not have noticed it. After a while, someone laughed and said, "It's not that there's a bulge, it's that other places have been flattened a little. That guy did it himself. He killed too many powerhouses and broke too many great Taos. The human clan's great Tao is even stronger, but it protruded instead." As soon as he said this, the God creation envoy was relieved. He exhaled and said, "I say he's a thief calling to catch a thief." Don't say, "I don't know if I don't say it," but once I say it, damn, how many people did this guy kill? The surroundings are actually all bald. The great Tao of a powerhouse was very thick. If one of them was broken, how could they not be bald? The subduing heavenly king and the others chuckled meaningfully. It was bald now, but after a while it might break. Chapter 1450. Below, the immortal origin. Fong Ping observed the celestial origin. He was a little far away, so he did not get close. The Spirit Emperor was very vigilant, but he did not chase Fong Ping away. Fong Ping had no interest in fighting Spirit Emperor now. Even if he killed her, the others wouldn't give him the chance to destroy the celestial origin source. Moreover, he didn't even have the chance to kill Spirit Sovereign, the celestial arch, and the others wouldn't just sit by and watch. Now that he was not strong enough, Fong Ping could not be bothered to waste his efforts. The system has a lot of energy: blood force, mind force, destruction force, origin force. Fong Ping calculated in his mind. The system could provide him with a lot of energy, all kinds of them. As for the rest, the three great emperors could provide it. Actually, the three great emperors could provide it as well. What about the great path of surprise? No, the ambush Tao was not meant to be used like this in the beginning. It was meant for Fang Ping to observe the Tao. As long as one had enough wealth, anyone's great path could be studied and viewed. However, the great Tao of the dead was obviously not possible. There were so many great Taos and so many powerhouses. How did the system break through? Immortal Spring. If one walked on the immortal origin, there would be no restrictions. As long as an expert was trapped in the immortal origin, they would be able to enter the great Tao. Fang Ping had never broken through the Emperor's Tao. When he was dealing with the Spirit Emperor's clone, Fang Ping could not break through the other party's great Tao. Fang Ping had tried it when he was dealing with the Emperor. In the end, he entered the origin universe directly. Back then, he had thought that he wasn't strong enough, but now that he thought about it, it wasn't that he wasn't strong enough, it was that the system couldn't provide him with such an ability. The reason for that was because those great Taos were not above the immortal origin. System, it's at the immortal source. At this moment, Fang Ping was almost completely sure. After staring at the immortal source for a while, he did not see anything strange. Fang Ping's eyes moved slightly. Combat Heavenly Palace suddenly appeared in front of him. Spirit Emperor frowned slightly, not quite understanding what he was trying to do. Fang Ping could not be bothered with her, and suddenly entered Combat Heavenly Palace. He once again appeared at the place where Jean often appeared. He raised his head and looked at the sky. At that moment, Fang Ping noticed something different. The Combat Heavenly Palace was indeed special. At this time, Fang Ping was standing on top of Battle Heavenly Palace's sleeping quarters. When he looked at the immortal origin again, he suddenly realized that something was amiss. There seemed to be something attached to the gigantic immortal source. However, Fang Ping clearly did not see the existence of this thing earlier. However, from the Battle Heavenly Palace, they could see it from that angle. Jean did it. Fang Ping mumbled in his heart. Was it Jean's doing back then? So the others couldn't discover it at all? But Fang Ping could not help but curse in his heart. If he tried to retrieve it from the celestial source, he would definitely be attacked by the Spirit Emperor. Would the Spirit Emperor believe him if he said that he was here to take something and leave after taking it? They would definitely think that Fang Ping was going to destroy the immortal source. Fang Ping's head hurt. Could he not get it now? Fang Ping continued watching. As he watched, he suddenly felt something strange. He actually saw some other things here. He saw that there seemed to be more than just a system on the immortal source. That is, Fang Ping noticed something unusual in the bulging area. There seemed to be a thread beneath the blood vessels that was connected to something. It led to the sky, to the unknown. That's the human race's great Tao, the blood chi great Tao. That's the blood chi seed. Fang Ping was suddenly enlightened. What was going on with the Combat Heavenly Palace? He could actually observe these things. This was the chi and blood seed stealing power, stealing control, and intercepting some control of the chi and blood great Tao. That thread should lead to Wang Ruobing's source world. Who did this? There were also traces of the existence of some threads under some of the other great Taos, but they seemed to be broken at this moment. It was caused by the three seeds shattering. The Combat Heavenly Palace is a microscope. At this moment, Fang Ping understood. He couldn't see it. Others couldn't see it, but standing in the Battle Heavenly Palace, he could see it. The Battle Heavenly Arch had turned the Battle Heavenly Palace into a microscope. This was the microscopic world. Fang Ping continued to observe the immortal source. At this time, the more he looked, the more interesting it was. The paths extended upwards and eventually led to the darkness above. Is that where the Celestial Emperor is? Heavenly Emperor actually controls the entire immortal source. Something's wrong. At this moment, Fang Ping's expression changed slightly. Something's wrong. Fong Ping suddenly felt that something was amiss. According to his previous thoughts, the immortal source was taken by the celestial emperor to make up for the shortfall. But that's not right. Fong Ping adjusted the angle of the combat heavenly palace and continued to look up. He even deliberately moved closer to some of the celestial sources. The spirit emperor frowned, but did not say anything. Instead, he looked at Fong Ping strangely. What was he doing? Something's wrong. Something's wrong. Fong Ping mumbled. Something was not right. Diverted. At the very top of the immortal origin spring, it looked like a mass of blood vessels were inserted into the origin spring, but it was diverted. It was divided into several paths: the blood force Tao, the life Tao, the energy Tao, and the spirit Tao. For small forks appeared. This meant that these 4 paths led in different directions. Sanjiao Gate. Fong Ping's heart skipped a beat. Immortal source. Wasn't the immortal source used to make up for the shortfall? How was that possible? Mending the door? Sealing the door? No, Fong Ping had a headache. Suddenly, there was a loud bang, shattering the surrounding void. Without giving others a chance to look, he looked at the spirit emperor and said, "Let me ask you a question. You are trapped in the source. Why don't you leave through the 3 doors? Can't you?" The spirit emperor frowned and did not say anything. Fong Ping also frowned. "You want to force me to fight you now? Even if you don't say these questions, I can still ask a few old antiques." The 3 doors seem to be real and fake. They don't really exist. The Tao fruit can't leave through the 3 doors. The spirit emperor frowned and said, "If it was possible, we would have completely escaped before dawn." Fong Ping said again, "The God creation envoy said that he only forged the immortal source, but the 3 doors were not forged by him. Then who forged the 3 doors?" "Heavenly Emperor." The spirit emperor said coldly, "We have to go through the 3 doors to enter the source?" "Yes." "Then the great Tao on the immortal source is related to the 3 doors." The spirit emperor frowned again. "The great Tao on the immortal source has to be passed through 3 doors in order to break through and prove the Tao. There were no 3 doors in the source at the beginning. Does that mean that the 4 sides are actually open?" "Yes." The heavenly emperor wanted to seal the source, so he forged 3 doors. The spirit emperor frowned and said, "Whether he forged the 3 doors or not, we can't leave from the 3 doors. At least the Tao fruit can't leave." Fong Ping nodded slightly and said quickly, "Let me ask another question. The 3 doors are half real and half fake. If the 3 doors are completely sealed, what will happen?" When he said this, the spirit emperor hesitated for a moment and thought for a while before saying, "No one in the 3 realms can prove to be an emperor. And if the 3 doors are sealed, it means that your Sanjiao Gate is also completely sealed and can no longer be opened. That means that you can no longer cultivate the Tao of the origin." As the spirit emperor spoke, he raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at Fong Ping, slightly puzzled. Fong Ping murmured, "If the 3 doors are completely sealed, no one can prove to be an emperor, no one can cultivate the origin." Fong Ping suddenly looked at the spirit emperor. "After the 3 doors are sealed, and I mean completely sealed, does the heavenly emperor still need to fill in the holes?" The spirit emperor raised his eyebrows. "The 3 doors can't be sealed. They are half real and half fake. If they could, they would have been sealed a few years ago. Moreover, even if they could be sealed, the others wouldn't agree. That means that the emperor can no longer leave the source." As she said this, she was stunned for a moment. Then, as if thinking of something, she said coldly, "If no one cultivates the origin, the source will gradually shrink." Fong Ping licked his lips and laughed. His laughter was sarcastic. The spirit emperor's expression changed again, and he said in a low voice, "The three doors existed to reduce the probability of martial artists self-destructing. This is because the ancient martial artists' cultivation is chaotic. Their mentality and vitality force are mixed. The three doors are not to block the path, but to make martial artists safer." Fang Ping laughed and said, "Is that so?" The Heavenly Emperor said that. "You think there's no problem, and it's similar to what the Heavenly Emperor said. So you built the three doors?" The Spirit Emperor frowned again and said after a while, "There's another reason. The three doors haven't been built, and the source has been leaking energy. After building, the power can only enter and not leave, and the source will be more stable. This is also an important reason why we agreed back then. Otherwise, the source's power will leak, and it will collapse faster." Fang Ping smiled sinisterly. "I'm not asking about this. I just want to ask, if the three doors are half fake and half real and completely solidified, no one can prove the Emperor, and the Emperor can't go out or even be trapped and killed, will the Heavenly Emperor not have to fill in the holes?" I said, "That will cause the source to shrink." Yes, Fang Ping also frowned slightly. "After it's completely sealed, it will cause the source to shrink." Fang Ping rubbed his forehead and thought slowly. As he thought about it, Fang Ping muttered to himself, "If the three doors are completely sealed, will the source reunite?" The Spirit Emperor looked at him and did not say a word. And Fang Ping thought of himself. After completely sealing the source, would it no longer be affected by the source? And now, if the source was completely sealed, what would happen? Reunite. Return to the appearance of the stars in the past. The martial arts of the three realms are destroyed. The source reunites. The power returns to the source. The source has a master. Heavenly Emperor. The three realms will return to the way it was 30,000 years ago. No, it's different. There are no martial artists, no powerhouses, only one Heavenly Emperor, one seed, Sun God. Sun God. Fang Ping continued to talk in his sleep. The source is sealed, the power returns. Can the Sun God still control those energies? What is devoured has to be returned, strength weakened. Is the Sun God a match for Heavenly Emperor and the seed? Fang Ping continued to shake his head. Heavenly Emperor, seed, these two, in his impression, had always been the most hostile. Heavenly Emperor was the seed's greatest enemy, and the seed, the one who wanted to kill the most, was actually Heavenly Emperor. And it was also the seed who lured Heavenly Emperor into the pit of the source. But what if these two worked together? Their goal was to destroy martial arts, to kill all the powerhouses of the three realms, including powerhouses like the Sun God. After that, Heavenly Emperor would become the only martial artist in the world, the only powerhouse. Qin Fengqing said that they were the thugs of the new world. Why did it have to be them? Could it not be Heavenly Emperor? What about Heavenly Emperor? In this three realms, Heavenly Emperor had the equally famous Sun God, the Divine Emperor, and Do, who were slightly inferior to him, and the huge pit of the source imprisoned him. If they killed others in exchange for him becoming the guardian of the new world, would he agree? Or was the preaching 30,000 years ago really unintentional? Or was it just a fake unintentional that caused countless people to fall into the pit? Fang Ping rubbed his forehead, looked at Spirit Emperor again, and suddenly smiled. Let me ask a question. When the source was destroyed, were there cracks as big as these three gates at the beginning? Spirit Emperor frowned at her. No, you probably don't know, but someone knows. Sun God. Fang Ping suddenly smiled. Sun God absorbed a lot of power from the source. Where did he absorb the power? Could it be that the area where the three gates were originally was sucked out by him? Thinking of this, Fang Ping suddenly stopped looking at the immortal source of ninth heaven. With a crash, the void was torn, and Fang Ping disappeared. Spirit Emperor frowned, not saying a word. He continued to sit cross-legged with his eyes closed. Not far away, Sherpa and Luan looked dull. Gone. The key was, if you left, how could they leave ninth heaven? The two of them had no way to break ninth heaven. That. Fatty Spirit, how about sending us down? Boom. Spirit Emperor couldn't be bothered with them after slapping Sherpa away with a palm. Both of them looked sad, and then they couldn't help but curse. Of course, they were cursing Fong Ping. It was over. If Fong Ping didn't come, both of them would be trapped here. Sun City. Fong Ping arrived quickly and said hurriedly, Senior, I have something to ask. I just want to ask, when you absorbed the power of the source 30,000 years ago, was the source completely destroyed, or is there a lot of energy left around, ready to be closed again at any time? Sun God was not going to answer him, but at this time, the void suddenly trembled, and the next moment, Fong Ping appeared in the previous small world again. But this time it was not a beach, but a mountain of ice and snow. On the mountain peak, Sun God was still wearing big pants, but there was a ski under his feet, as if he was preparing to skateboard. At this moment, he asked curiously, Why do you ask this? Fong Ping couldn't care less about his appearance and said hurriedly, Senior, can you tell me how you absorbed the energy 30,000 years ago? And what was the layout of the source at that time? Sun God frowned. As he slid down the mountain, he recalled, Let me think 30,000 years ago. 30,000 years ago, I chased after seeds everywhere just to absorb more power. One day, heaven and earth suddenly shook, but the tremor was not big. At that time, no one in the source universe had discovered it, but I was very powerful. The others didn't find anything, but I found something different, so I tore apart heaven and earth and entered the current source universe. Sun God continued to ski, moving skillfully, and continued. Then I found the source of the broken piece. When I saw it, I felt that the power was very strong, so I ran to check the situation. At that time, the Celestial Emperor had probably just left. Anyway, I seemed to see someone just leaving. At that time, I didn't care. I went to take a look. Oh, what a strong power. When I saw it, I felt that there was no danger, so I started to absorb it. How did you absorb it? Fong Ping asked hurriedly. Sun God smiled and said, How did you absorb it? The power in the center seemed to have been taken away by the Celestial Emperor, and it was empty. Of course, I absorbed it in all directions, and when I couldn't absorb anymore, I ran away. Fong Ping licked his lips and said, The empty area caused by the energy you absorbed, is it where the portal is today? It's where the portal is, and also where those broken paths are. Sun God chuckled and said, I absorbed a lot and sucked the surroundings empty, so the path was broken, and the empty area where the portal is appeared. Fong Ping continued, If you don't absorb that energy, what will happen? What will happen? Sun God thought for a moment, then smiled and said, There should be many people who can set foot on the great Tao of the origin, easily prove their Tao, enter the source, and become emperors. I think if I don't absorb it, almost all beginner martial artists can do it, and the repulsive force shouldn't be that strong. That's why I said that I'm the savior. Without me, wouldn't they have stepped into the source and become emperors? Fist, Dark, these guys can prove their Tao. Saber God, Sword God, Martial God are all the same. Fong Ping felt a little thirsty. Looking at the old man in front of him, he suddenly said in a low voice, Senior, if everyone enters the source, and you don't absorb that energy, can that energy envelop the entire source again? It can, right? Sun God thought for a moment and said, It should be possible. At that time, the energy was very strong. There was no energy in the central area, and the surrounding energy was very rich. If not for that, I wouldn't have been able to contend with Heavenly Emperor. As he said that, Sun God frowned slightly. He suddenly looked at Fong Ping and frowned. What do you mean? Senior, have you ever thought that the appearance of the source 30,000 years ago, and the appearance of that star was actually not accidentally discovered by Heavenly Emperor. Sun God frowned slightly. 30,000 years ago, Senior has been chasing after the seed, but Senior didn't find the source. Instead, it was discovered by Heavenly Emperor. Fong Ping thought for a moment and said, "Who was the strongest among the beginner martial artists back then? Heavenly Emperor or you, Senior?" Sun God sneered. "Heavenly Emperor. He's stronger than me? What a joke. In terms of strength back then, I was ranked first. This world almost became the world of the living. It's not the three realms." This was not the first time he had said this. It was not Sun God who had said it, but a few powerhouses who had said that this world almost became the world of the living instead of the three realms. Sun God continued, "That guy, Heavenly Emperor, was also very strong back then. If there was a ranking list in the top 10, Heavenly Emperor Qiong, Hao, Do, Wu would probably be in the top 10. That guy, Heavenly Emperor, was not too far away from the others. There was still a gap between him and me." Sun God said proudly, "I'm the one who chased after the seed. Would Heavenly Emperor dare? In the three realms, only I would dare. Unfortunately, this Birdman was the first to discover the source. He devoured more power than me, so he caught up later." Fong Ping's gaze changed. If Senior hadn't accidentally discovered the source and allowed Heavenly Emperor to pass on his teachings, would Senior have walked on the path of origin? Of course. Sun God laughed. "Who's afraid of not being strong enough?" Then Senior walked on the path of origin, and other beginner powerhouses also walked on the path of origin one after another. What would happen if the surrounding power sealed the source? Sun God raised his eyebrows and continued to ski. After thinking for a while, he said, "We were trapped in the source. The Tao fruit was rooted in the source, just like the current emperor. No, it was even more difficult, because at that time, we really couldn't get out. And the origin accounted for most of the power." Fong Ping continued, "I'll ask another question. Senior, how many beginner martial arts powerhouses were there in total? When I say powerhouses, I'm talking about Heavenly King Realm and above. Moreover, they're the kind who have at least the strength to break 8. It had been too long. Sun God had almost forgotten, but now he began to recall. Fong Ping reminded him. How many powerhouses with the power to break 8 were there in less than 3 years before, and after the source was destroyed? Don't keep asking, kid. It's been tens of thousands of years. I'm thinking. Heavenly Emperor Do, how? He calculated one by one. Many people had died over the years. Just how many supreme experts had the power to break through 8 levels in the past? There were many beginner powerhouses, but they were killed one after another in the later stages. For example, Fire God, Martial God, Saber God, Sword God, and Fist God, who was killed not long ago. 35, 36, 37? Sun God recalled for a while and murmured, including that kid in town. It should be 37, right? That kid broke peak 7 back then and almost broke 8, but he was also considered a top-notch powerhouse. He could also fight with those who broke 8. That's 37. Yes, it should be 37. Fong Ping said faintly. Excluding Heavenly Emperor, how many are there? Nonsense. Sun God cursed. Then his cheeks moved, and he bared his teeth. 36. What about the source? Fong Ping's voice was faint. Sun God raised his eyebrows and said gloomily, 36 levels of heaven. Did Heavenly Emperor have the ability to destroy martial arts back then? Nonsense, of course not. If he dares to mention it, if we don't kill him, how can he have the ability to do this? What if the origin prevails and all 36 top-notch powerhouses fall into the trap? Kill them all in one fell swoop. Sun God's eyes suddenly turned cold. Suddenly, he turned his head to look at Fang Ping, narrowed his eyes, and said, "You mean that guy wants to kill all the powerhouses in the three realms and then destroy martial arts? Why did he?" As he said that, Sun God murmured, "They're all second. In the three realms, they're not as good as me. They're not even as good as Seed. Actually, they're the third. After destroying the others, Seed doesn't care, and he can be the boss." Fang Ping said solemnly, "If Senior didn't accidentally discover that place and absorb that power, causing the source to be unable to be sealed, and then accidents happened, then the others would have successfully embarked on the path of origin and become emperors, and then be trapped in the source. The powerhouses of the three realms would have been wiped out in one fell swoop. What kind of result would that be? The source was created by Seed. Why didn't Senior find Seed when he was chasing after it, but Heavenly Emperor found it instead? Isn't it the same who is baited? If it's Heavenly Emperor, why can't it be Senior? Senior is the strongest powerhouse in the three realms. Logically speaking, it's more appropriate to bait Senior." The corner of Sun God's mouth twitched, and he said embarrassedly, that. I don't really like to preach, so I only have this one disciple. That guy, Heavenly Emperor, likes to preach. Anyway, he's more enthusiastic than me." So, Fang Ping laughed. "I understand. Senior is more selfish, the kind that runs away after swallowing the power, right? T. What do you mean by selfish?" Sun God was not convinced and said angrily, "Do you know how to talk? If you don't, then talk less." Fang Ping was too lazy to answer. At this moment, he chuckled. So, what happened 30,000 years ago was not an accident at all. Heavenly Emperor and Seed had long reached an agreement to catch all the beginner powerhouses in one fell swoop, including Senior. Who would have thought something unexpected happened? The power that was used to trap people was completely absorbed by Senior in one go. Even if Seed wanted to create this source and give so much power, I'm afraid it would consume a lot of energy, and he might not be able to do it a second time. Therefore, there were some loopholes in the source. As a result, some people couldn't set foot on the source, and the number of emperors was greatly reduced, but the difficulty was also greatly increased. As a result, in the end, only 9 people proved their Tao and became emperors, and a few of them were not beginner powerhouses, but powerhouses who rose later. The source can't be sealed. Powerhouses like Senior can still escape, including Emperor God and a few others. If they really harden their hearts to run away and give up some things, can they also escape? The previous plan to trap and kill the powerhouses of the three realms was ruined. What should we do? Then let's start the battle of the Great Tao. 1 death counts, and so beginner Marshall was defeated. Many experts have died. Most of the remaining have lost their origin source. But it's still not enough. 10,000 years ago, Heavenly Emperor felt that this could not go on. The difficulty of destroying martial arts in the three realms was very high, and he might not be able to deal with you and the 9 emperors alone. Therefore, he thought of the trap and kill plan from back then again. The source still needs to be completely sealed, and we'll talk about it after killing the 9 emperors. After that, we'll seal the source again. He has become stronger, and the energy that Senior absorbed back then may be extracted after the source is reassembled. When that time comes, will Senior be a match for Heavenly Emperor? Fang Ping laughed. When that time comes, will Senior die, won't he? Yang Shun raised an eyebrow. What did you discover, kid? The problem with the immortal source. Fang Ping frowned. The power of the immortal source doesn't seem to lead to the crack that Heavenly Emperor is suppressing, but to 3 gates, or rather 4 gates. I think that the immortal source matures not to suppress the crack, but to strengthen the gate and seal it completely. Yangshan frowned. How can that be? I've seen the crack. It's very big, and he needs to consume a lot of energy to suppress it. What if the seed is willing to help him suppress it? Yangshan raised an eyebrow. Then the seed will directly help him seal the gate. Then the movement will be too big. Will Senior not notice it? Will Senior continue to watch the show like now? Nonsense, of course not. If the seed dares to seal the gate, I've long noticed that something is wrong. I'll just hack Heavenly Emperor to death. Isn't that right? But the seed is helping Heavenly Emperor suppress the crack, or rather, the crack that doesn't exist at all. It's just an illusion. After all, it was created by the seed. Heavenly Emperor is just deliberately suppressing the so-called crack. Yangshan's expression changed. You mean he has actually joined forces with the seed a long time ago? 30,000 years ago, he and the seed reached an agreement to destroy martial arts and kill all those powerhouses. Unfortunately, I ruined it, causing the plan to fail. That's why today's scene happened. The immortal source is used to strengthen the gate that I destroyed back then. And not to fill his own hole, Fong Ping smiled and said, I don't know. I just want to ask Senior, is it possible? Yangshan was no longer skiing. At this moment, as soon as he stepped on the ground, the place changed. It turned into a volcano. Yangshan frowned. Wearing big underpants, he suddenly jumped into the volcano and started swimming. As he swam, he cursed, "No way! This guy doesn't seem like such a person. 30,000 years ago, he was a good person, a pioneer of preaching. How could this guy be so vicious?" He and Heavenly Emperor were like enemies and friends. In fact, he had never targeted Heavenly Emperor. Over the years, Heavenly Emperor had ruined his plans several times. In the past, the small world that he had nurtured was also destroyed by Heavenly Emperor. Yangshan swam in the magma, frowning. 30,000 years ago, there was some chaos. The heaven division that he was in was destroyed by an unintentional battle. He was very angry. At that time, he went out and was not in the heaven division. When he came back, there were only a few people left in the heaven division. Although he was angry, he didn't say anything. Who destroyed the heaven division back then? Yangshan recalled. It was a long, long time ago. He had almost forgotten. Who? Martial God. Yangshan murmured. Was it Martial God? Who did Martial God fight with? Sword God. Really? Probably both of them died. How did they die? One was when Qiong absorbed the power and died after he went back. The other was when he fought with Hao, and then he was suddenly killed. Hao was feared by the powerhouses of the three realms. If he hadn't achieved Dao, he would have killed him. As for Fong Ping, his eyes moved slightly. Dong Huang said that it was an accident that he killed Sword God. He didn't want to kill Sword God. Of course, no one believed him. The look in Yangshan's eyes changed completely. F***CK. It can't be. Could it be that this old guy secretly did something? Did he let these two take the blame? It's really possible. At this moment, Yangshan was no longer indifferent. The old friend in his eyes seemed to be completely different from what he had imagined. All these years, they had been like enemies and friends. He had never thought of dealing with that guy, but now, it seemed that something was wrong. There were many things that he had never thought about before and did not care about. However, now that it had been stirred up by someone connected one by one and gathered together countless clues, it suddenly made him have an unusual thought. Did Heavenly Emperor really King cooperate with Seed? Chapter 1451. In the magma, the young god was swimming. He did not even take off his pants. He did not know if the young god was too strong or if the pants were a treasure. That old thing, and the seed have joined forces. If that's the case, some things can be explained. Immortal source, the young god muttered to himself, I understand now. That guy is not trying to destroy the three realms, but to destroy martial arts. The immortal source kills martial artists. Ordinary people will not be implicated. They will only break their martial arts path. Without the immortal source, if the seed no longer emits energy and the source is completely sealed, the three realms will become a world without energy. Without energy, they can't cultivate. Martial arts will naturally be destroyed. In this way, a group of ordinary people can survive, and the seed can continue to maintain its intelligence. As he spoke, the Yang god suddenly jumped up, looked at Fang Ping, raised his eyebrows, and said, "Kid, isn't this in line with your purpose? It's just destroying martial arts. Now that the people who cultivate martial arts are dead, mortals can no longer cultivate martial arts. Even if they can only reach rank 5 or 6 at most. Without energy, I'm afraid it's impossible to cultivate to this point. I think it's pretty good. You'll be killed." Fang Ping laughed. The Yang god sneered, "Don't talk about me. I'm asking you, why did you come to me when you discovered this?" Fang Ping paused for a moment and sighed softly. "Actually, the world created by Celestial Emperor and the seed is not bad. But my teacher, my friends, my brothers, they are all above rank 7. They are all targets to be killed. I want to destroy martial arts, but I don't want to do it in this way. Celestial Emperor wanted to destroy martial arts. The seed wanted to destroy martial arts. Actually, it was somewhat similar to what Fang Ping thought. However, it was still different. The goal of Celestial Emperor and the seed was to directly kill all the powerhouses in the three realms. All of them, above rank 6, perhaps only Celestial Emperor could survive. As for how the seed discussed with Celestial Emperor, whether Celestial Emperor had a guarantee, Fang Ping did not know. However, Celestial Emperor was not stupid. He must have some confidence. Destroying martial arts in the process of killing all powerhouses was not something Fang Ping could bear. Of course, if the human race was excluded, Fang Ping would not feel guilty. If they were destroyed, then so be it. Although the catacombs had more than 100 million martial artists above rank 6, Yangshan curled his lips. "So what you said about martial destruction is just nonsense." Fang Ping was suddenly stunned. He raised his eyebrows and looked at him. He had only told a few people about this. The matter of annihilating the martial arts was actually just a casual remark. The one who understood the most should be the God creation envoy. How did this old man know? The Yang spirit was too lazy to explain. His figure moved again, and the world changed. He returned to the previous beach. At this moment, Yangshan leaned on the beach chair and continued to drink coconut milk. While shouting, he said, "Brat, you're telling me all this because you want me to be your helper?" Yangshan said playfully, "Do you think I'll be a thug? I didn't think about this before, so I couldn't be bothered to care about it. Now that I know, the Celestial Arch can't do anything to me." Yangshan said it indifferently, as if it was the truth. He wants to take away the energy I absorbed back then, but it's actually very difficult. He needs to completely reform the origin star. Only then will my power be separated. As he spoke, the Yang god narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, "But a lot of things are needed to reassemble the source star. People who have absorbed the energy of the source ground, people who have absorbed starstones, like you, and the trash can in the source ground, that cat, and the power absorbed by the three realms source path martial artists, and the energy absorbed by the three emperors back then, including cutting off their paths and completely sealing the source ground." Yang Shun said, lazily, "This is the only way to deal with you guys. After that, he will attack me, take back my power, and reform the source star. As long as one of them can't be completed, he won't be able to take away my power." I thought about it for a long time. I suddenly realized that as long as I control a few people, he won't be able to completely seal it, such as the reincarnation of the three emperors. Fang Ping frowned slightly and said in a low voice, since the reincarnation of the three emperors is so important, why didn't the celestial arch control them? At this moment, he completely understood how important the reincarnation of the three emperors was. These three powerhouses were very special. Back then, they did not enter the source ground through the area where the portal was located. Instead, they directly cut through the source ground from other areas and stepped into the source ground. Therefore, after these three became supreme emperors, they were very strong. And now, if some powerhouses entered the source ground through a door, their strength was actually average, and they could only break through 9. The Tao of the three emperors also seemed to be beyond the celestial Thearcha's expectations. Why didn't the celestial Arch attack the three emperors' reincarnation? As for Tianchen, Fang Ping actually felt that there was not much hope. Did the celestial Arch pin his hopes on Tianchen? Yangshan sneered. Is it useful to attack the three emperors' reincarnation? They are walking the three emperors' Tao, but when they die, this Tao is still there. It's just like when the three emperors are dead, their Tao is still there. It's not like killing them can solve it. Yangshan was disdainful. Fang Ping's IQ was not high. So, killing the three emperors' reincarnation is useless. Yangshan yawned and said, first, the three emperors exposed the specific location of the Tao, and the celestial Arch found the location and broke it directly. Second, these three guys took the initiative to open up the Tao, so they can also find the Tao. Third, these three guys have proven their Tao through the current fake Tao. When all three Taos enter the source ground and condense Tao fruits, they will also expose the true location of the Tao. The Yang God knew this very well. He laughed and said, in fact, the Celestial Emperor has been doing this all the time. Haven't you noticed? If they started cultivating fake Tao, they might be able to verify their Tao. Once they verified their Tao, their true Tao would definitely be discovered. As for exposing his location, he might have secretly sent people to negotiate with you, asking you to open the great Tao, and let them in this way, we will naturally be exposed. There was a strange look in Fang Ping's eyes. It was true. Previously, he thought that it was the emperors who had secretly contacted Yao Qingjun, and that it was the emperors who opposed the Celestial Emperor. But now, why couldn't it be the emperors who supported the Celestial Emperor, or even the Celestial Emperor himself? Fang Ping thought for a while, and said, how did the three emperors manage to break open another path and enter the source? Logically speaking, after what happened to Senior, the Celestial Emperor should be very vigilant. How did they manage to find an opportunity? Yangshan yawned and said casually, that's why they're in the extreme Tao, but you're not. Only by being able to do what others couldn't do could one become stronger. Otherwise, how could a Ji-Dao cultivator fight an emperor? They didn't even have Tao fruits, so how could they be so powerful? Don't ask others why they could do it. Others want to ask you, how could you be so strong in 3 years? Yang Shen disdained to answer this question. If everyone could do it, wouldn't it mean that Ji-Dao was everywhere? If it was so simple, why was Ji-Dao special? Why could they become Ji-Dao venerable emperors and war emperors? Also, do you know why they're called Ji-Dao venerable emperors? Fang Ping frowned and didn't say anything. Yangshan drank coconut milk and said vaguely, the great Tao is below 100,000 meters and above 10,000 meters. It's the range of venerable emperors. The reason why they're called Ji-Dao venerable emperors is that these guys haven't actually walked a long path. If you don't believe me, you can take the path of those 3 people and see. The final true path should be less than 100,000 meters. Fang Ping hesitated and said, Senior, you mean behind the gate of void is where their true path is? Yangshan chuckled and said, Ordinary people can't find it at all. Except for them, only those who have walked to the gate of void can find it. In other words, even if the immortal source controls their false path, they can't find the true path. When you came out of the source before, you walked Wang Jinyang's true path. So in fact, there are still people who know where their great Tao is. At least they know where Zhan's great Tao is. It's you can find it. Besides, the three emperors trust you very much. If you really want to follow their path to enter the source or leave the source, they will agree. Or if you simply want to explore their great Tao, they will agree. Fang Ping frowned and did not say a word. Yang Shen continued to drink coconut milk. After a while, he said, "It's true that you were created by those brats, but Celestial Emperor and the others didn't kill you. They even let you go and forced you. I'm afraid they still have some ulterior motives." Yang Shen exhaled and said slowly, "He also put in a lot of effort. Kid, have you ever thought of cutting off the three emperors' Tao and gathering it in your body?" Fang Ping's pupils shrank slightly. He had really thought about it. "Do you think that you can still prove your Tao because you haven't closed the three gates?" Fang Ping was silent. Yes, he had thought about it. He even thought about seizing control of the source. "That old man has even calculated your thoughts." Yang Shen sneered and said, "Once you cut off the three emperors' Tao, let's not talk about how big the commotion will be, whether he can find the great Tao or not. Even if you cut off three Tao, he will definitely enter the source and want to seize the power. It's scary if he can't find it. If he finds it, can you fight him? At this point, the three emperors' Tao will be discovered and completely cut off." Fang Ping's voice was a little hoarse. "So, Celestial Emperor deliberately didn't kill me, but he wants to force me into a dead end." "That's right." Yang Shen smiled faintly and said, "Besides, why would he want to kill you? You helped him do what he wanted to do. Why would he want to kill you? You killed the catacombs, martial artists, the ancient martial artists, the emperors. Which one of them didn't help him complete the hope of annihilating martial arts? At the end, he will kill you. It will save him a lot of trouble. Don't tell me you can match him?" Fang Ping frowned. The sun god said again, "If he's really working with the seeds, then he might know that you were created by Zhan and the others. Maybe he's been waiting for you all this time. You can use your strength to fight your own. It's just nice. How much trouble will it save him?" Yang Shen laughed and said, "Zhan, they may not be plotting against you. That old guy may be using your power to accomplish something." Fang Ping curled his lips and said casually, "If you want to destroy martial arts, of course, you have to kill powerhouses. How normal is that?" If you want to destroy martial arts, Yang Shen couldn't avoid it. Therefore, Yang Shen had to die. Fang Ping suddenly said, "Right, the seed seems to be recovering the power of beginners." "Recovering?" Yang Shen murmured, nodded slightly, and said, "It's normal. If it's to destroy martial arts, it's normal to recover power. But now the power of the three realms comes from it. I haven't seen it recover other people's power or beginners." After thinking for a while, Yang Shen said, "Maybe the first batch of power is a little different from the later ones. The origin can be recovered through the source, but the beginners can't. It can either be killed or forcibly recovered." Yang Shen thought for a while and suddenly said, "Maybe there are other factors." Yang Shen suddenly stood up, paced around for a while, and murmured, "Actually, the seed can't take the initiative to kill people, but it's the source of power of the three realms. I've been thinking about what limits it from taking the initiative to kill people. Could it be related to the power given to beginners by the first batch?" Yang Shen murmured to himself, "There's this possibility. Maybe the first batch of power it gave to beginners was mixed with something that limited it. It created the source to recover these powers. 36 levels of heaven, 36 powerhouses that were given power by it. That old guy, Celestial Emperor, might also be its target for recovery. Cooperating with the seed is like asking a tiger for its skin. But that guy should know what he's thinking. Or that old guy, Celestial Emperor. The power of the beginners was actually taken away back then. Thinking of this, Yang Shun's eyes moved slightly. Maybe there aren't many people left. Dark, heavenly arm, Huan. Huan actually broke through 8 later. In fact, the only beginners alive now who have received the seed's power are Heavenly Arm and Dark. The others, including Qiong, have already fallen into the source. If the seed recovers its power, it will only look for these 2 people. Fang Ping frowned. Qin Fengqing had indeed gone to look for Heavenly Arm before, but it seemed that he did not make a move. Were Dark God and Heavenly Arm also the seed's targets? Yang Shen exhaled and quickly smiled. Whatever the seed, some of my power is also given by it back then. If it doesn't take back my power, it'll still be the same. After he said this, Fang Ping laughed. Senior, you're actually in more danger than I am now. Celestial Emperor wants to kill you and take away the power of the source. The seed wants to kill you and take away the power given to you during the beginner's era. The seed and Celestial Emperor actually want to kill you. Maybe in their eyes, we're just incidental. Their real target is actually you, Senior, who asked you to be so strong that you're almost turning the 3 realms into the world of the living. That makes sense. Yang Shen also sighed. This person is too strong. There's no other way. He's so outstanding that everyone is jealous of him. Even the seed is jealous of me. What can I do? Fang Ping was speechless. How thick-skinned. But then again, he was almost the same as me. Of course, this old fellow was really qualified to say that. An invincible powerhouse who almost dominated the 3 realms. Senior, aren't you worried at all? Of course I am. Yang Shen sucked the coconut dry in one gulp, threw the coconut shell away, and said angrily, I didn't do anything. How dare you plot against me? You don't want to live. He was aggressive. Fang Ping was secretly pleased. This was great. He had finally pulled an invincible powerhouse to attack together. Unexpectedly, after he was done being angry, Yang Shun suddenly sat down and continued to pick up a coconut to drink. He said weakly, but I don't want to move now. Actually, it's quite fun here. Celestial Emperor borrows force to fight force. I can do it too. Jean doesn't want to do it himself. I don't want to move either. Jean chose you. Celestial Emperor is also watching you. You're also related to the seed. Interesting, interesting. As he said that, Yang Shun looked at Fang Ping and chuckled. You don't want to sit and wait for death either. That's good, that's good. How about this? If you don't want to die and you don't want your whole family to die, then you must go and fight. You go and kill some people first. In the end, when you're beaten to death, I'll see if there's anyone else that can be used. It's best if you don't do it yourself. It's too troublesome. Fang Ping was stunned. What kind of theory was this? Someone had come knocking on his door and wanted to kill him, yet he found it troublesome and was unwilling to do it. Yang Shen glared at him. What do you know? There are only 3 invincible powerhouses like us in the entire 3 realms. I, Celestial Emperor, and the seed. Those 2 don't do it themselves. You want me to do it myself? Where can I put my old face? I don't want my face. They have subordinates to do the work, but I don't. Isn't the town at the source? Aren't you still alive? You guys fight with their subordinates first. Kill their subordinates, or their subordinates kill you. When that time comes, it'll be our turn. If you want me to do it now, won't I lose face for nothing? Fang Ping was stunned again. You want to be the finale? The point is, when did I become your subordinate? But what Yang Shun said seemed to be right. Could he not fight back and resist? If his subordinates fought, of course, His subordinates would fight. There seemed to be nothing wrong with this. Fang Ping was in a daze. Why did this old fellow feel like he was even lazier than that cat? Kid, don't slander me. This is the prestige of a powerhouse. Naturally, he could stop those people for a moment. Fang Ping did not get his promise to help fight against the Celestial Emperor, but it was not without gain. Yang Shen had also said that when the big shots made a move, he would naturally come out. Obviously, the big shots he was talking about were the Celestial Emperor and the seeds. Fang Ping had a plan. What he had to do now was to deal with the Emperor God and his group. The key was that this group of people was not easy to deal with. The old guy is so arrogant. Fang Ping cursed in his heart. Just you wait and see. Sooner or later, he would let you know what it was like to be beaten by society. However, Fang Ping was still satisfied. The difficulty of seizing the system's main body had been greatly reduced. Other than Spirit Emperor, other people would probably be stopped if they intervened. This was an opportunity. This time, he did not come in vain. He had also unearthed the truth of these 30,000 years. Chapter 1452. 9 Heavens. Fang Ping returned once again. Seeing Fang Ping's arrival, Luan and Sherpu were extremely excited. They almost cried. Fang Ping finally came. If he did not come, they would have been scared to death. Spirit Emperor was right beside them, but they could not escape. How tragic! Luckily, Spirit Emperor was not in the mood to care about them. Even so, they were scared out of their wits. Fang Ping was speechless. Wasn't Sherpa very arrogant? He teased Spirit Emperor just now, and now he was scared like this? Spirit Emperor saw Fang Ping coming again. She opened her eyes and frowned. This guy was here again. Fang Ping smiled, pointing at the immortal source. I am taking something. I will leave after I get it. I am not interested in destroying the immortal source. Do you want to make way? Spirit Emperor did not speak. Fang Ping said again, I have broken through the immortal source. Heaven Emperor can fight me to the death. I do not need to do this. I am not strong enough to kill Heaven Emperor. The immortal source can help me by some time, so I will not destroy it. What do you think? Fang Ping saw that she still did not speak. He was a little impatient. Then I will let Ash Cat come to get it. Can you do me a favor? Spirit Emperor finally spoke. Immortal source, do not go near. No one. Fang Ping squinted. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Spirit Emperor, we have no grudges. I said I will leave after I get something. I will not go near. Why do you want to make things difficult for me? Spirit Emperor was silent. No way, since Heaven Emperor asked her to guard the immortal source. Then other than Heaven Emperor, even if other emperors came, she would not give way. Then go and die. Fang Ping did not have the patience to talk nonsense with Spirit Emperor. The long saber slashed across the sky and earth, slashing down. Since you do not give way, then there is no need for me to be polite. The immortal source would be destroyed sooner or later, but not now. Right now, he still needed to rely on the immortal source to buy time. Spirit Emperor understood, but she did not give way. Why would Fang Ping talk nonsense with her? Bang! Spirit Emperor did not say a word, holding her sword and attacking again. This time, Fang Ping was stronger than before. Killing intent swept across the sky and earth, shaking the 9 heavens. The Spirit Emperor had suffered a small loss last time, so he didn't dare to be careless this time. He split his sword into 10,000 swords, focusing on defense instead of offense. His defense was airtight. Tens of thousands of small swords formed a large formation, defending against the immortal source. This caused Sherpa and Luan, who originally wanted to have some thoughts, to give up. The aftermath of their battle had swept through the 9 heavens. It would be very troublesome for them to stay here any longer. At this moment, the 9 heavens had been torn apart. Sherpa and Luan Guan couldn't take advantage of the situation. They could only sullenly escape into the eight heavens and wait for an opportunity to make their move. At this moment, someone from the eighth heaven had also arrived. Demon Emperor, King Qian, these broken eights had all come here. King Wu and the others had all arrived. Everyone looked at the ninth heaven that had been pierced through, and then looked at Fang Ping suppressing the Spirit Emperor, causing the latter to retreat in defeat again and again. They all sighed. A long saber slashed down again and again. Fang Ping was like a ferocious beast that did not know fatigue. His face was ice cold, and the Spirit Emperor had no choice but to retreat. Fang Ping is getting stronger. At this moment, Feng could not help but sigh. Emperors. They had been pursuing the goal for a lifetime. Now, Fang Ping was suppressing the Spirit Emperor, and Emperor Nan was killed on the spot. The three realms was getting weirder and weirder. The Demon Emperor frowned slightly. There are many emperors at the source. Even if Fang Ping can defeat the Spirit Emperor, it will be useless. Killing an emperor was not very useful now. Before this, they thought that the gap between the 9 emperors was not big. Later, when the Emperor God showed his power, they realized that the gap was not small, but very big. These people were all waiting for the right opportunity. No one would give up. Not only them. Even Li Zhu in the Sea of Bitterness would not give up. Li Zhu's Tao was not separated from the source of immortality. He was also waiting for the right opportunity, the source of origin. Although Fang Ping had shattered the observation point, at this moment the scene reappeared. The earthly king watched for a while and exclaimed, "He has improved again. So fast. Xiong, are you really not going to make a move? Aren't you afraid that this guy will become our killer?" No one paid attention to him. The 36th heaven, the Emperor God, was not alone. There was another one, the Emperor of Heaven Reverse. The two were playing chess at the moment. The black and white chess pieces kept falling. The Emperor of Heaven Reverse put down a black chess piece and smiled. "You have improved again." "Yes." The Emperor God did not continue the conversation. The Emperor of Heaven Reverse chuckled. "Not enough. That won't do. Should we give him some benefits?" The Emperor God looked up at him and said indifferently, "You are blindly giving him benefits. Do you really think that guy is stupid? We cannot give away benefits for no reason. He might have noticed something." The Emperor of Heaven Reverse grinned. "Why don't we do a good deed and give him some real blood?" The Emperor God frowned and shook his head. "Don't rush for instant benefits. Take it slow. The speed of Fang Ping's improvement is also beyond my expectation. But we're just going with the flow. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work out. Don't ruin our plan because of him." The Emperor of Heaven Reverse heaved a sigh and put down another chess piece. "Will that guy make a move?" Also, Fang Ping loses control easily. Once he becomes stronger, it doesn't matter. The Emperor God said lightly, "No matter how strong he is, he cannot be stronger than us in a short time. It doesn't matter if the others are killed. Don't worry too much. When he becomes stronger, the first thing he will do is to break through the source of immortality. He won't fight with us before that." "It's hard to say," the Emperor of Heaven Reverse whispered. "This guy is not a man who follows the rules. He knows that once the source of immortality is broken, that person will not let him go. Killing us first may be his first choice." The Emperor God chuckled. "Then let's take a gamble. Will he break the source of immortality first, or will he come after us first? If he breaks the source of immortality first, then he will be going against that person. If he comes after us first, then we will have miscalculated, and we will have to bear the consequences." The Emperor of Heaven Reverse nodded. The Emperor God threw him a look and said with a faint smile, "I am curious. Can he really reach that step in such a short time? He is not completely out of the source of immortality yet. I don't know. It depends on luck. Anyway, it's not a trap set by us. The Emperor of Heaven reverse grinned. I am just going with the flow. The two of them chatted as they played. As for the war in the ninth heaven, they did not care. At this moment, the source of immortality was shaking. The Emperor God looked up and sneered. Is he trying to bait us into making a move? It's just a fruit of whey that suppresses spirits. How come he is not doing what he wants? Isn't he looking down on us? The Emperor of Heaven reverse grinned but did not answer. He changed the topic. Should we deal with Xian and Beast first? The Emperor God shook his head. Let's leave it to fate. One of them is watching Fangping, and the other is watching the town. If they want to get rid of the Emperor God, they will not be able to do so without killing a few emperors. I don't think Xian and Beast are enough. We need at least one more. The Emperor of Heaven reverse raised his eyebrows. Not necessarily. There are several new emperors. That's true. The Emperor God grinned. Then his expression changed. The speed of the vitality seed is not fast enough. Out of the 4 seeds, 3 are broken. They are trying to lure Fangping to break the seed. The Emperor of Heaven reverse frowned. If the seed is broken, the speed of the immortality will be faster. I know, but the fact that the seed was not broken has already aroused that guy's suspicion. Tell Beast the location of the seed, and then tell Fangping. Leave the seed to Beast. Dragon transformation is his descendant. Even if that guy suspects, he will believe it. The Emperor God placed a chess piece. The black pieces were eliminated. The Emperor God said calmly, if Fangping encounters Beast and collects the seed, do you think he will kill Beast? If he kills Beast, he will have a chance to get rid of the source land. I'm worried that he cannot find Beast's fruit of whey. The Emperor of Heaven reverse grinned. Isn't it too obvious to tell him where Beast's fruit of whey is? If he can't find it, can't Cat? The Emperor God did not mind. Cat is from the source land. He can sense the fluctuation of fruit of whey. Last time, Celeste was 1 step slower than Cat. So, there is no need to worry about this. The Emperor of Heaven reverse said, with what happened last time, won't that guy be cautious this time? He doesn't care about killing Beast, but he will not let Fangping take the fruit of whey. The Emperor God thought for a while. Move the blood seed closer to the 6th heaven guarded by Beast. Back then, I gave the blood seed to dragon transformation to frame Beast. Ling and Hao both know about it. That guy probably knows about it too. He might have guessed that I did it, but dragon transformation is my disciple, and the blood seed was exposed to Ling and Hao. I don't think he is sure if I did it. The Emperor God smiled. Once Beast is dead, he will definitely stop us. When the fruit of whey is broken, one of us will have to expose ourselves. The Emperor God thought for a while and said with a smile, not necessarily. Let Ji and Hong stop him. Even if you and I don't do anything, he will still be suspicious. Once he is suspicious, even if the celestial source is not fully mature, he may take action in advance. The Emperor God said with a smile, it's pardonable if I don't do anything. As for you, the Emperor of Heaven reverse grinned. It's okay. The Tao of War has been exposed. That day, let the Tao of War shake again. I will go and meet the 4 emperors. I am their big brother. It is normal that I don't care about Fangping. The Emperor God nodded. The two talked for a while, and then continued playing chess. As for the battle in 9th heaven, the two did not take it seriously. Success or failure, it was not important. Whether Fangping was strong or weak, he was an unexpected pawn in the game. It would be best if he could make a difference. If not, it was not a big deal. At this moment, Fong Ping was still unaware of all this. Otherwise, he would be shocked and then cursed. They were all schemers. The Emperor God and the Emperor of Heaven reverse wanted him to become stronger. If he became stronger and broke through the celestial source, he would have to compete with Celestial Emperor. The stronger Fong Ping was, the better. If he fought with Celestial Emperor, it would be an opportunity for others. The celestial source was not mature. It was not because there were not enough powerhouses. It was because the 4 seeds were divided. The purpose of the 4 seeds was not to escape, but to delay the celestial source's maturation. To give some people more time to prepare. Only a few people were qualified to play this game of chess in the 3 realms. At this moment, Fong Ping was still a pawn in their hands. Even if it was not planned by them, at this moment, all parties were borrowing power. Celestial Emperor was borrowing power, Emperor of Heaven reverse, and the Emperor God were also borrowing power. The Sun God was also borrowing power. They were all using this pawn to stir up trouble. The 9 emperors, some of the weaker ones among the 9 emperors, were sacrificed as if Emperor Nan's death was not an accident, but a plan. 9th heaven. Fong Ping was indifferent. In an instant, thousands of swords were cut down one after another. The 1,000 swords array of the Spirit Emperor was broken. In the blink of an eye, thousands of wounds appeared on his body. Fong Ping's hands were cut by the sword energy. Before the red blood dripped, it turned into many Fong Pings, rushed to the Spirit Emperor, and exploded. The Spirit Emperor kept retreating, but Fong Ping was getting braver. The battle between the 2 of them became more and more brutal. Neither of them made a sound, but the battle became more and more intense. Fong Ping's body was covered with sword marks, and blood began to drip. Spirit Emperor looked even worse. Even his face was slashed by Fong Ping. Fong Ping couldn't be bothered to persuade someone as stubborn as Spirit Emperor. It was a waste of time. He had to either cripple her or kill her. Otherwise, he would not be able to get close to the celestial source. The fight was getting more and more intense. In the 8th heaven, everyone's eyes were shining. At this time, in the sea of bitterness, a figure rose into the air and appeared in the 8th heaven in the blink of an eye. Everyone was not surprised to see Li Zhu, who did not want to escape. It was normal for Li Zhu to find an opportunity. Li Zhu glanced at the battle in the 9th heaven and frowned slightly. He shook his head and sighed. The one guarding this place is the Spirit Emperor. Troublesome. If it was someone else, it would be easier. But if it was the Spirit Emperor, it would be more troublesome. At this moment, the Spirit Emperor's body was bone-chilling. Li Zhu suspected that if she was completely suppressed by Fong Ping, this woman might explode her emperor body and seriously injure Fong Ping. Although she would also die, the fruit was still there. At that time, it was hard to say who would be at a disadvantage. If it were the Beast Emperor and the others, they would have retreated long ago. Fong Ping breaking the celestial source would definitely not agree. It was better to let the Celestial Emperor handle it. As they were talking, a fat cat came through the void. Meow! A cat's cry shook the 3 realms. The Spirit Emperor's mentality trembled slightly. Fong Ping took the opportunity to close in, his saber not leaving the Spirit Emperor's head. Meow! The cat came through the void and shouted, "Liar, leave it to me. Go and snatch the thing." Fong Ping frowned slightly and glanced at the cat that was rushing over. This cat was baring its fangs and claws as if it wanted to catch the Spirit Emperor. Fong Ping snorted and glanced at the Spirit Emperor. He quickly retreated and rushed toward the celestial source. But the Spirit Emperor came again and continued to fight with Fong Ping with a cold face. Meow! The cat shouted again. Seeing that the Spirit Emperor was ignoring it, it suddenly said angrily, "If you don't leave, I'll scratch you." The spirit emperor looked at it and said coldly, "Just do it." "Meow, I don't have hands, only claws." The cat muttered and waved its claws, saying angrily, "What are you doing? Can't you just let me go?" Fong Ping snorted. "Big cat, this woman is already hopeless. You want to save her, but she won't appreciate it. I don't need anyone to save me." The spirit emperor shouted coldly, "Besides, you're so sure that you can beat me. What a joke. And I don't need a stupid cat to save me. I've been feeding it for 10,000 years just to repair the lack of the celestial source." As soon as she finished speaking, the cat said angrily, "Big fatty, your words are not nice. Don't say any more." After saying that, the cat intercepted the spirit emperor again. At this moment, the cat did not even defend. It bared its fangs and claws and said, "Come on, kill this cat. This cat is a trash can. If you kill this cat, the celestial source will become even more trash." "Humph, I'm so angry that you don't dare to kill a cat." Fong Ping was stunned. The spirit emperor, who was blocked, was also stunned. Then, with a cold expression, she flicked the cat away with her sword. At this time, the cat's movements were frighteningly fast. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of her again. Like a ferocious tiger, its head grew bigger and crashed toward the spirit emperor. "Kill the cat, I'm not afraid." The spirit emperor was annoyed and flicked her sword at its head again. Bang! There was a loud sound. The cat shook its head, a little exasperated. "You hit my head again. You're bullying a cat. This cat will fight it out with you." As it spoke, it crashed toward the spirit emperor again. The spirit emperor was furious and suddenly stabbed with her sword. There was a thud. This sword directly pierced through the cat. The sword pierced through the cat. The spirit emperor flicked her long sword, wanting to flick the cat away. At this moment, a long saber silently slashed down at her head. The spirit emperor was in great danger. On the long sword, the cat that was pierced through whimpered, "Don't kill Big Fatty." Blood flowed. Along the long sword, scarlet blood dripped down. Fong Ping's face was livid. He slashed sideways with his saber, and with a thud, he cut off the spirit emperor's right arm. The right arm exploded, and the long sword fell. Fong Ping stretched out his left hand and grabbed the cat's neck, knocking the long sword away. He frowned and shouted, "Are you stupid? Do you really believe that this woman won't attack you?" The cat felt wronged. The wound that was pierced through was difficult to heal at this moment. The tearing effect of the spirit emperor's sword was not bad. Not far away, the spirit emperor did not make a sound. She grew another arm, and the long sword returned. In an instant, she appeared near the immortal source, blocking Fong Ping's path again. The cat turned to look at her and said pitifully, "Then I'll go get the things. Don't fight with the liar, okay?" The spirit emperor did not speak. Below, in 8th level heaven, Lindsay suddenly roared, "And do you really want to kill the cat and me? Just for him?" The spirit emperor's eyes were cold. The long sword pierced through the 9th level heaven and instantly headed toward Lindsay. King Wu and the others frowned and attacked. Lindsay, however, raised her head and said angrily, "You've already done enough. What else do you want?" "Yes, he saved the tribe, saved all of us. You are grateful to him. You love him, understands all of this. He even taught you martial arts so that you have enough strength to protect the tribe, to protect the family. But in the end, the tribe was still destroyed in the battle 30,000 years ago. If it wasn't for him, why did you participate in the battle for the throne? If it wasn't for that, the tribe would not have been destroyed. It's been 30,000 years. My father is dead. My grandfather is dead. The tribe has long been destroyed. Even the sisters in the Spirit Emperor Palace are dead. What else do you want?" Haven't you repaid the kindness of saving my life and teaching me? Lindsay's tears flowed. You want to kill me, right? Then kill me. He's been using you all this time. And do you really not know? Shut up. A clear shout rang out. Lindsay's 7 orifices were bleeding, but she did not care at this moment. She shouted angrily, Why do you have to shut up? It's been 30,000 years. I've repaid everything that needs to be repaid. Or did you fall in love with him a long time ago? How dare you? A clear shout rang out again. At this moment, Fong Ping sneered and said, You really don't care about me. I was wondering what was going on. It's just some bullsh asterisk T, and I've heard everything. Before he finished speaking, Fong Ping suddenly split into dozens of clones, surrounding the Spirit Emperor. Not only that, at this moment, a world appeared around the Spirit Emperor. It was faintly discernible. Stubborn, then I'll kill you. Boom. The world stabilized. At this moment, the Spirit Emperor fell directly into Fong Ping's source world. Thunder, come. Fong Ping growled. Thunder, death, bombarded the Spirit Emperor wildly. Fire, come. Buzz. And if he really did break it, then the Great War of the Three Realms would break out soon. He would not have time to continue to become stronger. But now, Fong Ping was indeed very angry. He did not care what the Spirit Emperor thought. But this woman was really crazy. She even wanted to attack her own niece, Lindsay. She pierced through the cat and wanted to kill Lindsay. She also tried to stop him again and again. He hated the Spirit Emperor. This kind of hatred made him unwilling to give up. The next moment, Fong Ping suddenly retracted the sphere, breaking the origin universe with one strike. The next moment, he appeared in the origin universe. He chuckled. Heroes of the Three Realms, it's up to you to break the control of the Daos. As soon as he said that, the Spirit Emperor appeared. At this moment, the Spirit Emperor's hair was disheveled. She glanced at Fong Ping coldly and ignored him. She broke the source world and was about to return to ninth heaven. But how could Fong Ping let her do as she wished? He held his saber and slashed down quickly. Both sides quickly engaged in a fierce battle in the source world. Eighth heaven. Everyone was tempted. The Spirit Emperor was entangled. Should they go to the source world? Even Li Zhu's eyes were shining. The opportunity was right in front of them. If they missed it, there might not be another chance. And Fong Ping, who brought the Spirit Emperor into the source world, did not do it to create an opportunity for Li Zhu and the others. He just wanted to let the Spirit Emperor know what betrayal was. Spirit Emperor, the source world is moving. You are about to be killed. Do you think the Celestial Emperor will save you or the source world? Fong Ping sneered. Suddenly, his vitality erupted. With a rumble, his combat strength was fully restored, and in the blink of an eye, there were Fong Pings everywhere. These Fong Pings quickly attacked the Spirit Emperor. The Spirit Emperor snorted. A clone wanted to kill her. Dream on. Ridiculous. Boom. The clones exploded. But it did not do anything to the Spirit Emperor. These clones were not strong. But was Fong Ping the kind of person who would do useless things? While the Spirit Emperor was about to continue tearing the void and leave, suddenly a clone exploded. Rumble. This loud sound shook the entire source world. The clone that Fong Ping had forged last time, the one with the Dao Tree Royal core, suddenly exploded among the other clones. This time, the explosion caused the Spirit Emperor to stagger. Fong Ping had been waiting for this opportunity. Extremely fast, he slashed at the Spirit Emperor's head. When the Spirit Emperor's longsword came, Fong Ping was suddenly wrapped by a ball, like armor protecting his whole body. Holding the longsword, he slashed. With a splat, the Spirit Emperor's head fell. The longsword also hit the ball with a bang, but it failed again. unable to break the ball. At this moment, Li Zhu and the others moved. With a rumble, the ninth heaven was broken. The source world was right in front of them. At this moment, no one in the source world made a move. Li Zhu's eyes flashed. Suddenly, he grabbed the thick Tao above the source world. That was his Tao. He wanted to strip it. The Celestial Emperor would make a move. He was gambling on whether the Celestial Emperor would deal with him or Fang Ping across the source world, suppressing the crack. Even if the Celestial Emperor was extremely powerful, there must be a limit at this moment. He judged that the Celestial Emperor could at most attack one person. I will only strip my Tao, not destroy the source world. Li Zhu shouted, also telling the Celestial Emperor that he would only take his Tao, not others, so all the more he should deal with Fang Ping. Sigh. At this moment, a sigh sounded. A hand pierced through heaven and earth, suddenly appearing in front of the source world. With a light flick, with a bang, Li Zhu flew backward, smashing through the ninth heaven, quickly falling into the bitter sea. In the source world, Fang Ping had cut off the Spirit Emperor's head. At this moment, he slashed down, about to destroy the Spirit Emperor's body. Fang Ping sneered. Seems like he did not choose you. Although he would not die, if his body was destroyed, it would not be so easy for the Spirit Emperor to revive. Childish. However, at this moment, the Spirit Emperor's head sneered, with disdain. Childish tricks. What can this prove? The Spirit Emperor snorted coldly again, her body suddenly burning. She was not Fang Ping's opponent, and she had been injured by Fang Ping's clone, giving Fang Ping the upper hand. At this moment, she did not care whether the Celestial Emperor would save her or not. In the blink of an eye, she was about to self-destruct her body. Seeing this, Fang Ping cursed, quickly tearing apart the source world to escape. And the burning Spirit Emperor's body stopped burning, the head quickly reconnecting to the body, quickly returning to its original state. Frowning slightly, she tore apart the source world again, appearing in the ninth heaven in the blink of an eye. The escaping Fang Ping was not afraid of her self-destruction, but felt that it was not worth exchanging injuries for. Fang Ping frowned, rubbing his chin, looking up at the ninth heaven. The Celestial Emperor's finger had already disappeared. Fang Ping said strangely, "Strange, did Celestial Emperor plan a coup on this woman? Logically speaking, if they were in a romantic relationship, wouldn't he go crazy if he did not save her? Why does it feel like there is no effect?" He was really curious. What was the situation between the Spirit Emperor and the Celestial Emperor? The Celestial Emperor might have the ability to save both sides, but in order to pretend that he was suppressing the crack, he definitely would not save both sides. Why did the Spirit Emperor not change? He thought that if the Celestial Emperor did not save her, she would go crazy. Could it be that she really fell in love with the Celestial Emperor? So melodramatic? I don't understand. Fang Ping looked confused. Forget it. He could not understand women. As long as he got the thing, it was fine. He was just a little confused about the Spirit Emperor's attitude, but it did not matter. P.S. There are only 2 chapters left. The book is almost finished, but it's still a bit of a headache. Slowly, I'll try to read the first part, fill in the gaps that can be filled in, so as to avoid too many loopholes. Chapter 1453. Earth. Fang Ping had been holding something in his hand, but Zhang Tao could not see or sense it. He could only feel that Fang Ping was holding something. Fang Ping did not hesitate to fight Spirit Emperor and did not destroy the immortal source. He insisted on taking something from the immortal source. What was it? Zhang Tao was curious. Beside him, Old Wang and the other 2 felt it was strange too. However, they could vaguely feel something. There was something in Fang Ping's hand. It seemed to be related to them. Is this the system itself? Fong Ping embedded the combat heavenly palace into his forehead and activated something like a third eye. Only then could he see what the thing in his hand looked like. It was a small pure white ball. It was not too complicated. Of course, Fong Ping did not take it apart. Was this the system? Fong Ping was sure that this was the system. When he took the thing from the immortal source, the origin simulation function on the system disappeared. This also meant that Fong Ping could no longer use the system to forcefully break through other people's origins. Of course, for the current Fong Ping, this function was not essential. This should be considered a divine weapon. Fong Ping sensed it and came to a conclusion. This was probably a divine weapon, a somewhat special one. It stored a large amount of the three emperors' power, pure power and unsourced power, including a large amount of origin energy. It was relatively easy to make, and the function was not complicated. The foundation of all power was mentality, vitality force, and so on. Therefore, it could be converted into imperishable substances, celestiality, and so on. Wealth system. Fong Ping picked up the ball and studied it. How did the wealth system work? How did it predict danger? How did it connect to him? Danger prediction, wealth system, they might all be converted through me. The system might have embedded some sort of probing device in his body, detecting danger, even sensing some of his thoughts. Wealth was generated based on one's thoughts. Detecting danger also required strong mentality to sense it. If there was a front-end device in his body, it might be something related to mentality. Only by relying on mentality to detect and analyze, including detecting the changes in his body's data, could he perform real-time sensing. I've checked many times. I've even self-destructed my body, but I've never found the existence of these things. Where is the front-end device? Fong Ping fell into deep thought. Although Heavenly Battle Emperor was dead, Fong Ping did not want anyone to monitor him all the time. Even if the master was dead, the system's monitoring would not work. Where is it? It was unlikely that it was in his body. So could it be in his brain? The brain nucleus was half real and half illusory, but it had always existed. Even aspiring martial artists had brain nuclei, but they could not materialize them. Without a brain nucleus and spiritual power, a person would be in a vegetative state or simply dead. Therefore, if there was a front-end detection device, it was most likely to be in the brain. Through the brain nucleus, he could sense some of his thoughts, convert wealth, materialize data, and perform crisis detection. This was in line with the changes in the system panel. When the system first appeared, it wasn't like this. There were no data units. Vitality was not card, and mentality was not hertz. It was only after Fong Ping came into contact with them that the system added these data units and displayed them. This meant that the detection device could only sense the existence of these things when Fong Ping came into contact with them. During the conversion of wealth, if Fong Ping did not know the value of some things, he would not calculate them in time. He would only calculate them after he knew the value. Therefore, it was more proof that the thing was in Fong Ping's body. Not only can this thing detect my body's condition, but it can also transmit energy. There must be a connection with the system itself. A ball appeared in Fong Ping's hand again. The brain nucleus. The left hand was the brain nucleus, and the right hand was the system itself. Fong Ping's mentality overflowed, sensing the connection and passageway that existed. He guessed that the thing must be in the brain nucleus. He had actually melted the brain nucleus once before, but Fong Ping still did not find anything there. It could be seen that Heavenly Battle Emperor, who put the system in his body, was still shocking even after his death. It was terrifyingly powerful. After looking for a while, and not finding anything, Fong Ping suddenly condensed a gush of mentality. It was condensed through the system's wealth. At this time, the system itself flickered indiscernibly. The others could not see the change at all. Fong Ping, on the other hand, felt the changes. The ball flickered, and some mentality condensed on his brain nucleus. There seemed to be a passageway in the void, carrying out energy transmission. Fong Ping suddenly disappeared, entering the source world. Upon seeing this, old Zhang and the others looked at each other. At this moment, they were all at a loss. "What's this guy doing?" Ironhead said with a strange expression. "He's playing with a ball alone." As he played, he disappeared. "What's he doing?" Old Zhang corrected him. "It's 2 balls. I only saw one." "That's because your eyesight isn't good." Old Zhang looked calm. Actually, he only saw one, but Fong Ping must be playing with 2. Ironhead looked at him suspiciously. "Did you see it, Director?" "Duh, of course I saw it." Ironhead looked at Old Wang, and Yao Qingjun hesitantly, asking uncertainly, "How many balls?" "2." Old Wang replied mildly. Yao Qingjun nodded in agreement, but he did not say anything. Li Hansong was dumbfounded. Were there really 2? All of you saw it. Everyone ignored him. Then why didn't I see it? Li Hansong shook his head, wanting to rub his eyes. That's not right. Why can't I see it? His mentality overflowed, probing for a while. It was still 1. Fong Ping was playing with it earlier, but what he saw was only playing with the air. He thought that no one saw it, but now it seemed like he was the only one who did not see it. What was going on? Li Hansong widened his eyes and looked again. His mentality overflowed and continued to sweep, but he still did not see it. "Everyone, are there really 2 balls?" "Of course." Old Zhang looked at him in surprise. Old Wang and Old Yao also looked at him strangely, as if saying, "What's wrong with you? There are 2 balls. Didn't you see it? What's with that look?" They were extremely bored, so they did not mind teasing this guy. They were all good actors. At this moment, their expressions were so realistic that it was scary. Old Zhang grabbed the air casually, as if he had caught something in his hand. After observing the air for a while, he tossed it to Old Wang. "Wang Jinyang, can you see how this thing was made?" Old Wang reached out and took it. He frowned and observed for a while. He shook his head and threw it to Old Yao. "Old Yao, your mentality is strong. Take a look. This thing might be related to mentality." Yao Qingjun also took it and looked at it for a while. After a while, he said, "I can't tell. The God Creation Envoy is not here. If he is, he should be able to see something." At the side, Li Hansong's eyes were wide open. "I didn't see anything." His mentality swept again. It was still empty. However, these guys were all studying it. They had an attitude, as if this thing was made too perfect. Obviously, they saw it. What was wrong with him? "This is related to the strength of mentality," Li Hansong murmured. "Can't you see it just because your mentality is weak? This is too much of a bully." They were studying it with all their might. He could not even see it. This was too hurtful to his pride. Beside him, a cat yawned and shot a glance at Li Hansong. Big Idiot was really stupid. However, watching Fong Ping study something that he could not see was indeed very boring. The cat wanted to sleep. At this moment, the cat poked Li Hansong with its claws. Li Hansong turned his head to look at the cat. The cat smiled. "Do you want to see it? You have a way." "Of course. My mentality is strong. I can help you activate the soul. When the time comes, you will be able to see it." Li Hansong thought for a while and nodded hurriedly. "I want to see it. I suddenly want to eat dried fish. There's no more. Go out and buy a cart, and I will teach you." Li Hansong looked at it suspiciously. "You really want to help me?" "Of course." Li Hansong saw the 3 of them studying it with great interest, but he could not see it. He was also depressed. Now that Fong Ping had disappeared again, it was even more boring. After thinking for a while, he suddenly got up and disappeared with a whoosh. He tore apart the void to buy dried fish. As soon as he left, everyone looked at each other and could not help but laugh. Yao, Chungjun coughed softly. Is it okay to play with him like this every time? Old Wang said calmly. We didn't say anything. We were just looking at the air. He took it seriously. What can we do? They burst out laughing again. At the side, the cat looked at the three of them strangely. What are you talking about? That ball is so fun. Didn't you see it? Isn't the fake human emperor in your hands? Zhang Tao was dumbfounded. Was it a joke? When did he catch it? The cat stretched out its claws, as if taking something from his hands. It grabbed it with its claws and played with it for a while. It even tossed it up and weighed it for a while. Then it said strangely, This is it? Didn't you see it? The few of them blinked. Was it for real? Old Zhang looked at the cat, suspiciously. Was this cat playing with them? After a while, Ironhead returned, carrying a big bag of dried fish. He said hurriedly, Quick, let me see. The cat's mentality moved, condensing a soul eye on its forehead. Ironhead looked at its claws instantly and said in surprise, This is it? It looks very ordinary. I couldn't see it before. Is it made by pure mentality? As he said that, he took it from the cat's claws and pinched it. Amazing! It feels like it doesn't exist. No wonder I didn't notice anything after you played with it for so long. This time, it was the three of them who were stunned. Did he really see it? The cat looked at the three of them strangely and suddenly grinned. Eating the dried fish, it said happily, I still need 3 carts of dried fish. The three of them looked at each other, not knowing whether it was true or not. Seeing that Ironhead was playing with it, the three of them remained calm. Old Zhang's arm reached into the void, tore the void, and entered a supermarket. He grabbed a lot of things in an instant. He did not leave any money. He left an energy stone and disappeared. Old Wang and Ironhead did the same. In the blink of an eye, there was a big pile of food in front of the cat. The cat was delighted and opened its soul, eye for the others. At this time, they saw a white ball in Ironhead's hands. They were a little surprised. It really existed. They had made a fool of themselves. The few of them observed enthusiastically. After a while, Fong Ping appeared. As soon as he appeared, Fong Ping looked at the 4 idiots strangely. They were staring at the air, and the cat was eating with relish. Cough. Fong Ping coughed softly. Ironhead held the air and chuckled. Fong Ping, what is this thing? Fong Ping was stunned. He looked at the point on his forehead, where his mentality was concentrated, and understood immediately. He grimaced. Idiots! After saying that, Fong Ping weighed the system in his hands that they could not see. He shrugged, his face helpless. Their expressions froze. Old Zhang glanced at the cat. The cat lowered its head and continued eating. Everyone looked at each other in silence. All right, they understood everything now. They were used to tricking people, but they were tricked by this cat. Fong Ping did not know whether to laugh or cry. What were these fellows doing? Old Zhang acted as if nothing had happened. He avoided the topic quietly and asked, Did you find anything? It was embarrassing. It was better not to mention it. This cat would be taught a lesson sooner or later. I found it. Fong Ping chuckled. Amazing. They say that the God Forging Envoy is the strongest in blacksmithing. I don't think so. In the 3 realms, the strongest in blacksmithing should include Celestial Emperor and War. Celestial Emperor forged the Sanjiao Gate, connected to the Immortal Source, and modified the Immortal Source. The Immortal Source forged by the God Forging Envoy was very different from the current one. The Sanjiao Gate was a magical thing. The fact that Celestial Emperor could forge this meant that his blacksmithing standard was very high. Celestial Emperor forged the system, which was also a magical treasure, including the Heavenly Battle Palace. It looked ordinary, but it could see things that many emperors could not. This also showed that Celestial Emperor's blacksmithing standard was very high, as Fong Ping said that something appeared in his hand again. Everyone still could not see it. This was what Fong Ping found on the outer eggshell after exploring inch by inch in the source world. He found it through the Heavenly Battle Palace. It was like a chip, perfectly integrated with the brain nucleus. Fong Ping chuckled and suddenly threw the thing toward Old Zhang. Old Zhang sensed it, but did not find anything. In addition, he believed that Fong Ping would not harm him, so he did not avoid it. The chip disappeared instantly. At this moment, Fong Ping was holding the ball that everyone could not see, his eyes moving slightly. As for Old Zhang, his vision blurred, and he was suddenly stunned. Vitality. 8 million cow mentality. 98599 Hertz force. 0 jade bones. 99% with vitality qualitative change. Combat techniques. Zhang Tao's educational record plus 15%. Origin increase 265%. Emperor path plus. Strength control 97% maximum vitality. 2948800 cal / 3040000 cal. Old Zhang was stunned. Then he suddenly looked at Fong Ping and could not help but ask, "Is this what you had on you previously?" Fong Ping chuckled. "How does it feel?" Old Zhang licked his lips and exclaimed, "It's good stuff. This thing might not be very useful to us now, but if it was in the past when we were weak, it was really good stuff. We can completely understand our own state at any time." Martial artists are afraid of not understanding themselves. If they act recklessly, it will easily cause problems. It's really good stuff. Wrong. Who says it's not good stuff now? Fong Ping licked his lips. Do you still have that mentality and vitality conversion function? Zhang Tao was stunned. Then he looked carefully. Yes. This time his expression changed. Yes. Hee, it's good that you have it. Complete the balance and convert it into force. Hee. Fong Ping smiled brightly. This artifact is very powerful. I don't need to wear it all the time now. If you complete the balance through this conversion, vitality and mentality will reach the same level. Then you can carry out the force conversion. At that time, your strength should increase greatly. For emperors, for anyone, complete balance is too difficult to control. In this 3 realms, there are no more than 5 people who can do this. That's why Emperor Nen wants to develop the vitality restoration technique, and Emperor Dong Huang wants his disciples to keep experimenting. I'm not sure about Emperor Shun in battle, but right now, in the 3 realms, I suspect that only Celestial Emperor, Sun God, and Emperor Dong Huang can do it. Fong Ping exclaimed. Battle did it, using an artifact to do it. Old Zhang also swallowed. If everyone uses it, wouldn't it be, don't even think about it. It consumes a lot. It looks like conversion, but it's actually consuming the energy stored in battle. The conversion of mentality and vitality consumed a lot of energy. Every single function of the system consumed energy. Especially this kind of balance conversion, it consumed a lot. Fong Ping had already noticed it. Even so, the system was still an extremely powerful artifact. If this thing was obtained by other emperors, if it could continue to provide conversion, then the emperor's strength would increase greatly. Converting it into origin power was equivalent to adding spiritual power and vitality power together. Not now. Mentality was mentality, and vitality force was vitality force. At this time, Old Zhang also swallowed hard. Before this, he did not care about that function. Now that he thought about it, his eyes lit up. Kid, no wonder you're so strong. I relied on myself to cultivate bit by bit. You, kid, completely relied on this. Shameless. Fong Ping sneered. Don't blame society for being unlucky. It's your fault for having such poor aptitude that battle doesn't like you. What can I do? Old Zhang was speechless. Then he looked at Old Wang and said with some sourness, Your ancestor is really extraordinary. Let's not talk about other things. Just this artifact alone is not an exaggeration to say that it's the #1 artifact in the 3 realms. Through the consumption of energy to convert a person's vitality, force, and mentality, if it was effective on emperors, it should be effective. If Fong Ping could use it, emperors should be able to use it too. Although the consumption was not small, if he asked those emperors if they were willing to use it now, would they refuse? Balance was the most difficult. However, with this thing forcefully converting, then there would be a significant increase in strength. Fong Ping coughed softly. Stop talking nonsense. Old Zhang, your basic vitality shouldn't be as strong as your mentality. Convert some of it into mentality and reach peak 99,999 hertz. I'll see if I can make you undergo a qualitative change. Once you reach 100,000 hertz, it will be 200,000 hertz instantly. Then convert it into vitality, then vitality into force. Your strength will skyrocket. As he said that, he frowned slightly. I'm just afraid that you can't withstand the significant increase in strength. Also, will your Tao be compressed and broken? It shouldn't be. The Emperor Tao is very stable. It's completely different from other people's Tao. Old Zhang, on the other hand, felt that the Emperor Tao would not be compressed and broken. From Fong Ping's Tao, he understood that Fong Ping's physique was strong. His Tao would be compressed and broken a little. However, Old Zhang felt that the suppression on the Emperor Tao would not be too strong. After all, this Tao did not belong to him alone. It belonged to the entire human race. I'm afraid the mentality qualitative change will be quite difficult. Old Zhang's mentality was considered strong. It had been improving very quickly. With the support of the entire human race, it had reached more than 90,000 hertz. It was even stronger than vitality. However, if it was a qualitative change, if it was that simple, then the mentality qualitative change would not be the most difficult stage in Breaking 8. Fong Ping nodded slightly. The difficulty of his qualitative change previously was not small. However, Fong Ping smiled quickly. It's okay. The other hostages will be in trouble. I don't think you'll be in big trouble. As long as you improve the human race's strength by a large margin, you will receive a reward. Your strength will increase, and you might be able to skip this stage. Once the qualitative change is completed, 200,000 hertz mentality plus nearly 10 million basic vitality, once converted into force, it will be about 30 million calories basic vitality outburst. In addition to combat techniques, Tao, when the time comes, it will depend on Tao to see if it can still maintain such a huge increase. Breaking 8 was a process of unification. Overlord level would have a 2 times increase. Heavenly King would have a 3 times increase. Theoretically, Breaking 8 would be 4 times. However, at this time, it would decrease and increase his own strength. Therefore, although Old Zhang had broken 8, the Origin's increase was not even 300%. This was the process of unification. Fong Ping did not know how much increase he could maintain when the time came. However, even if it was only 100%, Old Zhang could achieve an outburst of more than 60 million calories. The system, Fong Ping realized now that the most powerful thing was actually this balanced conversion ability. With this ability, it would not be a problem to call this thing the most powerful divine weapon. Moreover, Now that Fong Ping had developed it to this stage, the others did not need to upgrade step by step at all. Once they got it, it would be Fong Ping's development to this stage, and they could use it directly. The main body was in Fong Ping's hands. He did not even need to use wealth. Old Zhang licked his lips, a little moved. Dao increase, combat techniques increase. If the basic could reach 30 million calories, it would be more than 60 million. There was an additional increase in Emperor Dao. Before this, he was still worried that his current strength was too low at the stage where he could only break through 2 gates. However, once he succeeded, old Zhang could not help but say, this energy consumption is the strength left behind by the 3 emperors, right? It should be counted. If I consume too much, does it mean that you, Wang Jinyang, and the rest still need to? I don't need it anymore. Fong Ping smiled. Old Wang and the rest. Fong Ping glanced at them, thought for a while, and said, let's see how much you've consumed. The strength left behind by these few back then should be quite a lot. I'll let you use it first. Old Wang, you guys don't have any objections, right? The few of them did not really understand, but they generally understood the function of this divine weapon. Balance. Convert force. Just like Fong Ping, it would greatly increase the basic combat strength. After that, it would be enhanced and combat outburst. This was indeed an incomparably powerful divine weapon. Whether it was old Zhang or the few of them, the effect should be about the same no matter who used it. However, Fong Ping considered that these few were being watched. It was easier for the 3 emperors to be discovered. Old Yao and Ironhead's mentality and vitality force were slightly different. It was easier for old Zhang to complete the qualitative change. In the end, he still wanted old Zhang to complete this step first. Zhang Tao looked at them, and finally at Wang Jinyang, saying, this thing was originally left behind by Heavenly Battle Emperor, and the rest. It should be given to you guys to use, but this time, I still want to take advantage of it. How about letting me use it first? If he used it first, if the energy was depleted, he might not be able to continue replenishing it. But Zhang Tao longed to become stronger. He wanted to participate in the final battle, not like this. He was just a bystander. He did not even have the use of changing paths for Fong Ping. As a martial king, as the emperor of the human race, he wanted to fight for a future for the human race. At this stage, participating in the Battle of Emperors was extremely dangerous, but he did not care. At least, he could personally participate in this battle, the battle of the future. Old Wang chuckled. Just use it, minister. This isn't ours anyway. Even if it was used in the battle back then, it has nothing to do with us. It belongs to Fong Ping now. Fong Ping thinks that it's most suitable for minister to use it, so minister should use it. Moreover, the few of us are not as experienced and knowledgeable as minister. At least, it's still early for the few of us to have a qualitative change in mentality. Minister, on the other hand, is a step behind. Zhang Tao grinned. At this moment, he was in an extremely good mood. This is good stuff. This thing definitely can't be created by the God creation, envoy. Fong Ping, you bastard, be careful that I surpass you this time, and let you be arrogant. If his conversion was successful, the qualitative change would be complete, and he would be able to retain a little more of his Tao enhancement. There was really hope for him to surpass Fong Ping. Fong Ping did not have a Tao enhancement. This was the biggest difference between him and Zhang Tao. Of course, there were good and bad things. Even if Zhang Tao's emperor path was special, it was still controlled by the source. This was the biggest difference between him and Fong Ping. Fong Ping was really strengthening himself, not strengthening his Tao. Fong Ping pursed his lips and said disapprovingly, if you're capable, then surpass me. If you really surpass me, then it'll be easy. You go and deal with those guys, and I'll cheer you on. Do you really think I'm willing to be your fighter? He. Zhang Tao could not stop laughing. Fang Ping continued. Also, let me tell you, that thing's main body is with me. Right now, you're actually under my control. If I'm not happy, I'll blow up your brain. You won't even know how you died. TSK. Old Zhang did not think much of it. Then, his eyes lit up. Say, what if I throw it to the Emperor God, and the rest, and blow up their brains? Nothing much. Fang Ping was speechless. If they quickly change the balance, their original combat power of over 100 million will instantly break to 300 million. Before you can blow them up, they'll kill you with a slap. I won't do such a stupid thing. After saying this, Fang Ping could not help but laugh. This thing is really good stuff. Scholars are really amazing. They can even create this thing. If everyone has this thing in their hands, then don't even think about it. The difficulty of creating it must be frighteningly high. Also, it requires a lot of energy. Do you think everyone has the energy left behind by the three emperors? Old Zhang shook his head. If this thing was so easy to create, it would have been everywhere. Fang Ping laughed and suddenly said, Old Zhang, do you regret it? If you had taken me down back then, maybe this thing would have been yours. Old Zhang rolled his eyes and ignored him. Everyone knew that Fang Ping was abnormal. A long time ago, Fang Ping even cooperated with the Research Institute to do research. MCMAU, including Zhang Tao, had always been protecting him. Otherwise, there would have been people who had designs on him. Regret what? Old Zhang said indifferently. First, it might not be possible to strip it off. It's already so difficult at your level, let alone us at that time. Second, if I kill you, won't I have to be a hired thug forever? Third, it's good that the thing is good. But if the humans themselves are willing to do anything to get the treasure, then the human spirit would have been broken long ago. These years, the development of the humans may not be satisfactory, but the human spirit has not been broken. Even if there are cases of killing people for the treasure, it's very rare. Old Zhang was a little proud. He humphed and said, This is what it means to follow the example of superiors. I don't snatch the treasure. At least, I don't snatch the treasure of my own people. When the people below see me like this, they'll follow suit. If they don't listen, then they're evil sections. Kill them. It doesn't matter how strong they are. At least the people must be united. In the past 100 years of new martial arts, I dare say that in the past 40,000 years, new martial arts has the most united people and the least internal strife. It was not that there were none, but it was the least. Even if Zhang Tao could not completely unite the entire human race and make all humans devoid of scum, he could suppress the greed in people's hearts to the lowest, to the deepest depths. This was what he was most proud of, because he, Zhang Tao, was the role model. He knew that many people had secrets. Many people had obtained treasures in the catacombs, and they were even very attractive to him. Even though he was tempted, he had never taken action. He looked proud. Fang Ping, however, curled his lips and muttered, I don't know which bastard had designs on me every day back then. I don't know how many good things he had coveted from me. That's different. I treated you like a grandson. That's why I asked you for those things. Fang Ping sneered. You should become sworn brothers with the sun god and try calling old Zhen his son. Let's see if he can beat you to death. Old Zhang was embarrassed. Forget it. He would not look for trouble anymore. However, if the conversion was successful and his strength increased greatly, it did not seem like a big deal for him to bully the Heavenly King's suppression. At this moment, old Zhang's fighting spirit was high. This kid Fang Ping surpasses people every day, and then goes looking for trouble to beat them up. I'll do the same, can't I? At this moment, old Zhang was grinning from ear to ear. With the divine weapon in hand, the world was mine. No wonder this kid Fong Ping was so confident every time. This time, it was his turn to be the main character. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.